Maggots, Michael.
I love you.
I know.
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
Hell is this?
This is for Brody.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
We're live.
We're live.
We're actually live.
We're live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast, and it's hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I am the other host, Paul. And I have returned after you banished me last week, you bastards.
No,
yes.
you banished yourself. Well, joining us for this frightfully fun chat is the Let's Talk Horror channel host and friend of the podcast, BP.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello, you right? It's so weird. This is the first time I've ever been done a live YouTube thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if
You're
I pass
live.
out, then you know what happened. I just disappear from the screen.
That's fine. If it's all content at the end of the day.
Yeah, we've never had anyone pass out yet, so that'd be interesting.
I'm going to be the first.
Yes.
I've getting really sick on here to where we had to end the podcast.
Oh, that was the Pixar one, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, I had COVID and we had to end it because I was like, I can't do this no more.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Well, at least it wasn't because the movie was so shit.
No.
No, not that time. Wow.
No, not that one.
I think no, not that time. So yes, BP is a friend of the podcast, and he graciously had me on his episode where we talked about the Blair Witch, which was an amazing experience.
Good.
Like I say, one of the most nervous things I've ever done, which is weird because we've been doing this for a while, and
3 years, people.
Just before we introduce, get BP to tell us a little bit about himself as well. Not today. Can I give us a day? Today is our 3-year anniversary of doing the Nerdy Up North podcast. So yes,
Round of applause.
The first episode, which people please do not go and watch. It is a terrible episode. It is not fun. But yeah, we've been doing this shit for 3 years now, and it's still fun. Still like me and Sammy still love each other, kind of.
Yeah, we haven't fallen out yet. Like,
no. And just in aid as well, I thought I would do this. If I can open it, get the moonshine out for all the moonshine fans. Yes, so we'll get the moonshine.
The actual moonshine.
Yeah,
We're going to be absolutely fucked.
Oh, it's strong.
he's not a drinker either.
No.
That's the funny part of it all.
If I'd have known, I would have joined you.
No, it's a little bit of an in joke. 'Cause I love this. Love the TV show Moonshiners and try and get it into the podcast any which way I can. So I came across. Oh, that was fucking nice though. Yeah. Sorry.
You get the after bit there.
Oh,
There's the sponsor. There's the sponsor.
there's the sponsor there. If I can get sponsored, then we're trying to get Iron Brew. That's what we're going for. Iron Brew to
Oh,
sponsor.
that would be a good one, wouldn't it?
But yes, so BP, and again, I'm going to do a live apology as well, because after I did your podcast, I was so excited that I wanted to talk about it on our episode on the Sunday. I changed your name. I called you BJ, and it's not a BJ, and I just want to
I've been called worse.
very much up. But everyone likes the BJ, so it's so it
I
helps.
suppose you could look at it like that.
But yes, so BP, if you could please give us a little bit of your nerdy credentials as well. Tell us a little about yourself and a little about your channel as well.
Oh, blimey, this is the R part, isn't it?
Yes.
So I run the Let's Talk Horror channel. It is just a pure content sort of channel. It's all horror related. Everything is all to do with horror movies. It's pretty much as simple as that. We've got all the socials, all that sort of stuff, obviously, because we just fucking have to all the time now. So you've got to have the socials, especially if you're old like me, it's difficult. The main sort of focus and the main thing of the channel is that we have the audio podcast and the video podcast. So the audio podcast comes out every single month. We talk about something in the world of horror. So the latest one is all about Saw, the first Saw movie. The one that you were on, like you said, was all about the Blair Witch Project, which is a great episode. Like, I really love talking to you about that movie. And two things that both those films have in common is something that appears like constantly. Basically, there's a word that I use on my show every single time. I need to get it tattooed like Jared Leto on my head or something. But it's iconography. That's
Iconography.
It's the word that I use to define horror and my love for horror, because I'm in awe of the iconography of horror, and that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast. So every month you have the audio podcast, and then every month as well. So that comes out on the 1st of every month, and then the 15th of every month we have the Welcome to the Creep Zone video podcast series, which is about something different than the audio podcast. But that one's good because I have no idea what I'm going to say. It's just about something to do with horror as well. But yeah, it's just a pure horror-driven content channel that is just all about love, all about passion, all about honesty, about my favorite and the most important genre as far as I'm concerned to cinema.
Cool.
If any of that made any fucking sense. I've had too much fucking monster.
That's fine. Did you have a background in movies or TVs, or was it just a pure love that? Because I know we had a little bit of a conversation the last time we spoke, because it was during lockdown that you started this. But did you have a background in anything to do with the industry, or? So ever since I was a kid, the only thing that I've ever wanted to do was acting and filmmaking. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. And then also that's what also spawned both of it, was like because of horror. You know, like I loved horror and it made me want to be an actor and a filmmaker, and they sort of both fueled the fire for each other. But that was when I was a kid, and then life happens, and then life gets fucked up, and then as I got older I fucked up my own life by doing all the shit that I shouldn't, in a really bad way. And then as I got older, I realized, and I started coming back to this idea, this dream of what I wanted to do. So I ended up making a short film that did really well. Like I got to see it on a big screen in London.
Wow.
It was, I'm proud of it. I think it's shit, but I'm proud of it. But anybody like me who's got imposter syndrome and all that sort of shit, I think everything I do shit anyway. So So I did this short film, and then it really reminded me of like, okay, well, it was like almost like me going, okay, so this is what I should be doing. And then my daughter was born, so that stopped everything. So my background has always been acting and filmmaking, but like you said, that during lockdown, even though it feels like 100 years ago now, which is like 3-4 years, I most of the world went absolutely fucking mental. My mental health was about as bad as it possibly could be, and I couldn't, because we were like prisoners in our own homes, we couldn't then start planning stuff. And I was trying to plan my next movie as my daughter was getting a bit older, and I thought, okay, well now I can start planning this and planning that and trying to film this, but you couldn't, because there was nothing we could do. So I decided, and a friend of mine was speaking about it, and I was just like, I just don't know what to do. And he was just like, well, why don't you just try and start a podcast? And because that way, like podcasting to me is like therapy, and I really truly enjoy like what we're doing now, the conversational piece of it all. I hate all the editing and shit like that, but and the promoting and stuff. But actually sitting here recording, having a conversation like a film like Cree-show, and talking about why it's so important to us and all that sort of stuff. That's why I started it, and it's really important to me doing this podcasting. But so I never had a background per se in podcasting or anything. But it's sort of, I'll probably it saved my life in a way. Doing this.
No, I say a lot of people, and that's where we started, like the Nerdy Up North community, and like other things have branched on from it. But I totally get what you're saying. One thing I wanted to touch on with yourself as well, because I think one thing that like other than what you do stands out head and shoulders above us, like everyone else, is the imagery, that is basically the promotional work you do. Everything you do always has the same kind of style and the same kind of look. It's very standoffish, and like I said, I know me and Sammy were talking about the other day.
We were talking about it yesterday, actually, and how beautiful it is, and the colours that you use, and it's so striking, but it's so, you know, that's your bit of design work, like that's yours, regardless of what film you're doing. It could be like every film like it's different, but it's, you can tell you've touched that. I love your design work for your promotion.
Yeah, but
that was like a proper like, I always say to people when you're doing like podcasts and stuff, like people ask for advice. It's probably because I'm really fucking old, but people like to ask for advice from like some old wolf. But yeah, it's branding, you know, like, and branding is like key. Like you guys, like with the stuff that you do on your lives and stuff, like you've just said to me, like I always know when Nerdy Up North, or it's in Nerdy Up North, because of your, you know, the brilliant backdrop and everything that you always have here, and your logos and all that sort of stuff. And that's really important because, like you said, Sammy, like if people, there's so much content out there that people are bringing out. So how do you make people see what you're doing? And that's one of the main things that I've always tried doing, even from the start of this show. I was just like, I want to make sure that I've got a logo or something, even the old shitty ones. But I wanted to sort of make sure that people knew that when I uploaded something, it was Let's Talk Horror and all that sort of stuff. So that's always been really important to me. And also that sort of comes from the filmmaking background as well, of you know, of that sort of stuff. Like I always try and make sure that the videos that I do look reasonably cinematic or something like that, you know, and you know, the Dutch angles and all that sort of shit. But yeah, but that's the other part I love, you know, because that feeds my creativity, because we're all creative. Everybody in the world is creative. And it's sometimes it's about finding that creativity and then going, right, like this is what I enjoy doing, and finding it and then being happy with it, or not being happy with it if you're me.
So did you ever have a background in design work as well, or is it just something that you've picked up or just learned as you've been doing this?
Yeah, I've just learned as I go along. I'm one of those people that, luckily, because my granddad taught me like everything, but my granddad was one of those people that could do a bit of everything. Didn't mean he did it very well. He just could do a bit of everything. And I'm the same. Like and when you sort of like can do that, you can pick up on things really quickly. So like I managed to pick up on things. I'm quite a fast learner, so I'm good at most things. I'm quite handy to have around, unless you want it to be professional. Then it's never going to fucking work.
I'm not going to let you get away with that, because everything that you do that we've seen or like listened to is professional. So this might not sound like you can fuck off for saying that you're not. So, but
I mean, I'll take any compliment on the show that I get, because as I said, like even with you, like when I did the show, I sent you a message afterwards saying like, did you enjoy it? And then when it came out, I was like, make sure you listen to it, because I don't, like, whenever I do my show, like I always say to my guests, like, this isn't my show, this is our show. I want us to enjoy this conversation. I'm very much different.
This is my show. Everyone else can just go
this is your show. You run this.
This is just for me.
Yeah. But yeah, I just love having conversations about everything. I mean, I literally recorded an episode last night about a movie called Chud, which is Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers from 1984.
I remember it.
It's a fucking great word. But it's funny because that movie is a proper B movie.
Yeah.
But because of the perspective that I can look at it from a filmmaking background and an acting background, sometimes I get to add the extra layers that other people may not be able to, because they don't want to be an actor or a filmmaker. So even in a piece of shit movie like Chud, I can find those little bits in it where I can go, actually, it's actually quite a high-end B movie. It's not a piece of shit. It's actually more to it and stuff. So this really is a really fun thing for me to do, because I get to go into detail about things that other people might just brush off and go, I'm not watching a film called Chud.
Oh, mate, I've just done Dolly Dearest. You're preaching to the choir here. And that is an absolute heap of shit.
Yeah, there are some shit ones.
That is terrible.
Don't be giving the dolls the hate already. Like, see, you got that out. That you exercised the demons last week. But talking about a good B movie, so Sammy, do you want to do the disclaimer?
Yeah, well, just put my hair back off my face. Everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our Discord, the Facebook, or the comment section, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of a nerdism.
I thank you.
I thank you.
Yes. And as
Don't
Dan
be
says,
chuds.
I'm not. Yeah, as Dan says, don't be a dick. But I'm not stealing that off Dan.
That is, I was going to say that is the shortened down, sweet and short version on Monsters is don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. So yes, and if again, like I say, if you want to check out anything that BP has done for the Let's Talk About Horror, the information is in the description below. So we've got links to his Instagram, his YouTube channel, and his Spotify account is in our description. So give him a follow, give him a like give him 5 stars. It's always nice to get 5 stars. Give us 5 stars. Not many people do.
Nice.
Write him a review. Just do something.
I got a review once that said, gave me like 2 stars because I swore so much. Well, guess what? Fuck that
Fuck
person.
you. Fuck you.
That's why I made sure I swore so much in the next episode afterwards. Fuck that person.
Might have been,
It would hit monsters then.
It probably was my parents, because my parents won't watch us because I swear, but yes.
Yeah, my dad points out quite a lot that I have a bit of a potty mouth, and I was like, well, it's no different to how I talk to you in the house, so why would it be any different here?
I would talk to you. I would talk to your mum a bit different, Sammy. Don't worry there.
Leave my mother out of this.
Hi, Mummy Sam.
Right. Before we get into the nitty gritty of this movie, as always, I want to give you the taglines for this movie. Some really good ones. Not as good as some, but they're all right. Kind of get to the point. So we've got from the Masters of Terror and the Macabre. I feel like my Monsters intro voice is going to come out here. The most fun you'll ever have being scared. 5 jolting tales of horror. And this is my favorite, actually. 2 masters of the macabre team up to terrify you.
Wow.
Pretty straight to the point, though.
Yeah,
like, there's no messing about. There's no like the Batman one last week was so fucking long. I felt like I was reading a monologue. So yeah, straight to the point taglines. Very much like it.
That's the thing, though, with this as well. You think the people involved, they would have had more interest in taglines, especially with like Stephen King being writer and part
George
of it.
A. Romero, Tom Savini, all that, and everybody's just like the macabre.
Yes,
they use the macabre quite a bit.
It needs to be a word that comes back. Imagine, like, you know, all the like kids walking down the street, like with their bag of chips, being like, "Oh, the macabre."
But I do like.
She looks very macabre today.
Yeah.
When I was finding the link to watch the film today, I love the description. So I actually wrote the description: 5 tales. 5 tales of 5 horror tales, sorry, in the style of a classic 50s horror comics. So it is. I didn't quite get the 50s reference, but
Given
still,
that the comics came out in 82. But
yes,
okay,
but still, because we had a discussion yesterday about this one of the first anthology movies that came out, not for probably movies, but for horror. Because you said Twilight Zone, but Twilight Zone was 83 or 84.
Twilight Zone, and I was thinking today, and I'm not wanting to start an argument or anything along those lines. This is just where my brain was going to when I was watching. Because Twilight Zone, I fucking love the Twilight Zone, and I do cross these two over. So I'm really glad that I watched it today, so I could pinpoint which stories is which and which one's in the Twilight Zone. But what I was thinking is that yes, it's a anthology horror movie. However, Twilight Zone, it was the TV show, but it was still the same concept.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we'll take the movie aside. Like, the TV show still had the same concept. It was still a show that had multiple stories within it.
Well,
So
if we didn't have Twilight Zone, if we didn't have the Twilight Zone, we wouldn't have Creepshow.
No,
because like the Twilight Zone is so influential too. It's one of those things. It's a bit like when Spielberg made Jaws, and that became so influential, not just to cinema, but like now directors and filmmakers like Jordan Peele and stuff like that. Like they hold movies like that responsible for him wanting to be what he is. And that's sort of like with Twilight Zone, is that the ideas, the concepts, the stories that they created all the way back in like the 50s or the 60s, whatever it was, you know, with Rod Sterling and like him there with just like his lovely cheesy grin and probably a cigarette going, "Oh, yes, it's me, Rod Sterling." You know, but he's such a fucking legend. And but that guy, like they created these incredible stories back then that like obviously filtered throughout everything that's come after it, and that's once again becomes like the iconography. So even though people will watch it and go, well, it's not fucking scary, but it doesn't matter. It's still part of horror's history.
Got me to jump a few times today. I'm not going to lie. So there's 5 stories. It's broken down in 5 different stories. Well, 6 if you count the intro and the outro.
'Cause well, the first one's just classed as the prologue.
Yes.
So I guess that's not like part of the you know, you wouldn't class that as the first chapter of the book, would you?
No.
So I get that.
But if we're just casting the 5 stories, I think 4 very good stories and 1 that
really fucking terrible.
One didn't need, or if they missed it off, I wouldn't have I think done it with.
It'd be interesting to see which one you think that is and whether I think that's the best one.
Possibly that's going to be. But that's where it's
now
interesting.
That you
can
said
have that.
You know where he's going from.
Yes.
Going with.
So no, that's interesting. So yes, so we start off as well. I love the fucking intro, like the prologue, how this starts off as showing an American abusive father.
And it's Tom Higgins of all the people.
And he's not credited anywhere for this movie, you know.
No, he's not. He's not.
And what makes me sick is seeing his face without a moustache. It was fucking weird.
I'm like, please to God, just grow that in. You can see where it goes.
This is the guy in The Fog who fucked Jamie Lee Curtis in the first 10 minutes. And then now he hasn't got a moustache in this, beating up his kid. Who the fuck is he?
No, I don't like it at all. But
it was a bit of an overreaction, the slap, as well. It's like, oh, you're reading a horror comic, and he gives him back chat about finding these porno mags. So he gives him a right hook.
Overreaction. Right, okay, so the kid is Adam Hill.
Yeah.
God bless Adam Hill, is Stephen King's son. He's kicking off about a horror comic book, yet his son has a Dracula poster hanging from his wall. Godzilla toys, everything in there is related to horror, but the comic book, that's what tipped him over the edge.
Can I just say as well, though, because not many movies do this, the makeup for this, because it actually for the handprint was really well done. Like afterwards, it almost stopped for a second. I was like, did he actually hit him?
Probably.
Tom Savini did good work in this movie, but I read a story that Stephen King actually, like after the day's filming, took his son to McDonald's and forgot to wipe the print off his face, and he went into McDonald's and they called the police on him.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so Tom's work is really good.
Can you remember when you first saw this movie? I know probably going back a long time.
Not for me.
No, because this was today the day of the first time you watched it, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a good couple of years ago. It was when because anthology horror is some of my favorite horror, but I've never dipped into kind of like Creepshow because of my love for the Twilight Zone. And me and Ant was like, you've got to watch it. If you love this staple in horror, this has to go in there. So he says, I tell you what, deal. You watch Creepshow and you can watch a Twilight Zone movie straight afterwards. I was like, you got me. Okay. Yeah. Then it was literally only a couple of years. And then I watched VHS and then the whole night was just, fucked from then onwards.
Went in different paths.
Yeah, massively.
I remember watching it as a kid because I think I've told the story about my cool auntie before, where she used to let us watch all the horror films or films like she used to tape off Channel 4. As long as it didn't have boobs in, she used to let us watch it. This was one of the ones that she went, oh, I think you'll like, because it's like comic book style and you're a comic book kid, so it was good. Oh, great. I didn't get past the crate. The crate was too scary for me as a kid. I was like, no, I'm done. I don't want to, I can't watch a thing. So for years, I didn't even know there was 5 stories in this one. I thought it was just 4 because I could never bring myself to watch past Fluffy.
Well, you didn't miss anything on the last one, to be fair, did you?
but that's the conversation we'll have later. But yeah, what about you, BP? When did you first saw this?
This one, I don't know. How much do you want me to go into the detail of this? Right, okay, because I don't want to like blow my load, so to speak, already. So this is. Do you know what? I'm going to save some of this for later, but I'll get into. I'll just go into. But basically, this is one of the films that I watched when I was a kid. Because what's brilliant about having my daughter now is that my daughter's 11. So what I've been able to do is, because of her being at school and the years she's been at school and stuff, I've been able to sort of trace back where horror started for me, and like where at school and when it was and what age I was when I was doing this. So I probably watched this because I used to, because my love for horror started when I was probably about 7 years old. By the time I was 9, I was obsessed with horror. Like we had a Blockbusters, but it was literally 3-minute walk from my house. So almost every night, me and my mum would walk down there, and we'd go and rent a movie. And predominantly, it was always horror. And they were like they didn't give a shit what I watched. So by the time I was 9 years old, I was stealing Fangoria magazines from 3 different newsagents, because that way I thought that's my foolproof plan at 9 years old, because they're never going to know that it's me. Obviously they knew that it was me. So I started stealing all these magazines, these Fangoria, and Creepshow and films like that were always part of those magazines, because of those Fangoria magazines would always show the movies that are coming out or have been out, and they would have interviews with Tom Savini, and they would go through all this amazing stuff about like how they made the movies, and that's what I was really excited about. So it was because of those magazines that I ended up finding out things like Creepshow and stuff. So I remember us going down, we rented it, and so I was really young when I watched Creepshow for the first time, and it was one of those movies that I fell in love with instantly, but it wasn't because of the segments, the stories, because that's something I feel like they're the things that you understand more as you get older. Like especially like the Ted Danson one and stuff, you know, like as you get older, they're the things that you understand more. And in that one, like apart from the ending with the amazing effects, there's not too much in it and stuff. So it was always the stuff with like Fluffy and like the corpse in Father's Day and stuff. Like they're the things you get excited about. So when I was a kid, I really appreciated it, but I appreciated it because of the special effects and what it did and the look of. And this is one of the movies that really aesthetically wise, because of all the colouring and the lights and the lighting and all these reds and blues, and it's very giallo and all that sort of stuff. This is one of the films that really started like my journey of wanting to be a filmmaker. So it was really influential to me. And then as I got older, I've just watched it a million times. And then the annoying thing is, because we're in the UK, we can never fucking get anything on to actually buy like this. So you have to get it from Germany or Amazon.
Yeah. No, it took a while for these type of movies to actually start hitting our shelves for a lot of times. I know the Steelbook, I think the Steelbook's still only in America that you can get, because I'm not paying the import duties, I'll be honest with you.
No, I wouldn't.
But yeah, I can still remember, like, to this day when I'm watching them, because there was ones, as you said, that you understood straight away just because of the horror and the scary aspect. But the Ted Danson one, that does hit a bit harder now, and it's a bit scarier now. But I still, like, watching it back today, there was elements where I was in fits of laughter, and there was bits that actually did genuinely make me jump as well. But we've talked about, like, as you said, the starting point, the prologue, where we got Tom Aiken bitch slapping his kid, and uses one of the weirdest lines ever, is like saying that's why God made fathers, because he sorted and he talked to his wife like she was a piece of shit as well. That was good old American family values, shall we say?
Absolute son of a bitch.
Yes. But we get the first look at the creeper, and that's when we know. Like, I know it's very B movie-esque, it is, but some of the effects, like for the practical effects of the time, like remember this is 1982, so there's zero CGI, or very little CGI in this one. I think the only like film effect is the meteorite that's flying from space that hits the Earth. Everything else looks like it's practical.
Yeah,
it is.
And funny enough as well. Yeah, funny enough as well that they, because they did release this in America on 4K, and you can see, obviously, if you have it on 4K, you'll see it. But that scene is quite blurry when you watch it, like now, on obviously whatever you watch it on. But on 4K, normally it really shows all like the defects and stuff like that. But these effects in 4K look incredible still. So that bit at the window where you see the creep, that. You can tell the artistry that goes into it all is still there, and it looks really good. Rather than you going, "Oh, that looks fucking shit."
No,
it looks great still.
Yeah, can't touch Tom Savini with half the shit that he's done in this film.
Absolute legend.
Oh, amazing! And I'll get it.
Apart from being,
things.
apart from
the
him
garbage man, comic book.
Yeah, that's it. But he is a bit of a prick because he keeps on fucking cancelling all the conventions that I keep on trying to get him to sign my poster. Son of a bitch.
Yes,
Son of a bitch.
I think Dan's going to be meeting him soon, or she already met him, or
she's already met him.
Yeah.
It's one of Dan's very clever at dropping names when we do our monster episode, and his is one of them.
Yes.
He loves the macabre.
Yes,
he loves everyone who doesn't love the macabre.
but then we'll get the credits as well, and the credits are absolutely amazingly done because it's very very ahead of its time with the comic book aspect and the way it kind of looks, and again, it's visually just right up my street. I love everything about these credits and where it kind of leads it to, and it doesn't throw the names of the episodes too much in your face. It's kind of like if you blink and then you miss it.
You miss it, yeah.
You miss it, so it's quite... But can I just say as well, this movie is so 80s it actually hurts. It is one of the most 80s movies I have seen for a long time, and that includes License to Drive and Men at Work and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so 80s. Ed Harris has hair.
Yes. So take us on
a little bit. So yeah, we go into Father's Day with the first story. And I have to say, I didn't particularly like this to start with, but as more watching has gone on with this movie, because the first time wasn't just the only time. I have seen this countless amount of times afterwards. I thoroughly enjoy this story.
Yeah.
And there's something I don't know. I couldn't quite explain it the first time around. I was like, oh, okay. He wants cake. Fair enough. Fucking just give him the cake, please. To God, shut this fucking man up and just give him the cake. But I really like the almost mental torture that he puts upon his daughter in order for her to snap, and then she still goes and visits him at his grave
because of the guilt.
And the relationship aspect, like this kind of story and this kind of family, like it's money, it's money that's within this household, and everything's all driven by it. But for her, I don't know, something quite intriguing about her.
Yeah,
I feel like I found who I could possibly be growing older. Like I love the hat. I love our whole aesthetic.
And one thing I will make a comment about, like literally every horror movie trope or everything that you say don't do in a horror movie gets done in every single story that is told in this as well. So you kind of have to take your rose-tinted glasses off a little bit and say, right, look beyond this is, as you said, for a child's comic book in a way, is to take away that element where, because there's certain bits where if you're watching like normal, you will get annoyed with and you'll start shouting at the TV, which did happen today, I'll not lie. But I do love the fact that like when they're starting off the story, Ed Harris is almost like the audience. He's the one that they're telling the story to. Yeah. So it's kind of like filling us in. He's the new guy, or the sister's bit of rough, shall we say, that as I keep referring to.
It's a new husband with some hellish dance moves. Every time I see Ed Harris dance, all I think is you and Crispin Glover. What a combination.
Funnily enough, I've literally got that in my notes. I was just like, Crispin Glover's a better dancer than these, because, and also Ed Harris quite clearly knows some form of witchcraft because he lights a match in the fucking coolest way. I don't know if you noticed that, but he fucking like does some witchcraft on a match and it lights. And I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? But he just sits there like trying to be cool. He doesn't really fucking do much.
No. Well, he's not integral to the story. He's just there, as you said, to be the audience, like so they can tell us what's happening in the shortest space of time.
But you expect him to last the whole thing.
Yes, especially when they put his name is one of the first names on the credits as well. It's like Ed Harris. You're like, oh, great. It's going to be like based like a central story around him, but he's just a side part. He's like not even there to move the story on. He's like the first Drew Barrymore. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
But that's fine. To be honest, there's more interesting characters in that story than Ed Harris, so I'm okay with that. There's one thing that this film does very well is continuity. So anthology horror, for anyone who doesn't know, is different stories within, just either a short period of time, or it's like broken down into different stories. And sometimes they are singular stories, and other times they can connect together. People can, characters can just walk by in a scene and there's your connection kind of thing. The connection in this one, do you know what it is?
No.
Yeah? You don't?
No.
No. It's the ashtray.
Oh, yes. I did notice that. Yeah.
The ashtray that she hoofs him with is shown in every single story. So there's your
what happened
connection.
today? There's no bloody ashtrays around.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was used. I couldn't. Do you know what? For all I was looking for it in some things, and the only time I generally spotted it to where I didn't have to look for it was the end one where it's the soap dispenser. He has his soap on it.
I spotted it I spotted it with Leslie Nielsen quite easily because that was quite an easy spot. But yeah, one of the notes I did write about this is like how posh are these twats as well. How
posh.
There was thing, but Belinda was lovely. I did like Belinda's character. She was kind of the rogue sister that went off the rails because her father killed her lover
to have more control over her, and she wore fox fur, for fuck's sake, man. She looked cool as
I was hoping that was going to come alive.
Yeah.
Yes.
What got me though was the fact that it was Jim Beam that brought her father back to life.
Yes.
Of all the things in the world, it was Jim Beam. When I first watched this, I honestly had no inkling of respect for that makeup route, like the makeup that was done when I first saw it. But given the episodes that I've done for Monsters, the fact that I've done 2 parts of Tom Savini and the Burning that is coming out on Monday, I have such massive love for this makeup. The skull itself looks exactly like the Burning.
Yeah.
The skull in the Burning, it looks exactly like it. There is real life maggots used in the makeup of that, along with Rice Krispies.
I didn't know the Rice Krispies.
Two interesting things about that you may or may not know anyway. But one, the guy that was basically supposed to be in that suit with the maggots, he was being an absolute pussy and refused to do it. So they ended up getting one of the ladies on set to do it. So she just was just like, I'll fucking do it. So they now roast him every time they meet him still to this day about it. And also Tom Savini still gets a bit annoyed by it because he wanted the suit to be bigger. So it meant that you could see that it looked more like a skeleton, but the suit was quite skin tight on him, so it still looked like this guy had loads of meat to him and stuff. And that's not the look that Tom Savini wanted. So there's like, even just to that own little section, there's still so much like I said, like the iconography, like the really cool little bits that you learn about it. But that's the coolest thing. I mean, I don't like the ending to this; it pisses me off because I wanted everyone to die. So it annoys me where it just sort of ends where he's like, here's my fucking cake again, and
with her head on it,
and then they're like, cut.
I get the whole thing why Tom would be pissed off, because that did look like a beefy, meaty kind of person, and Tom is so well known for his, I don't know, me, I can't say the word, of people. Like, he understands people and bodies, and I can understand how that would really knock him. But I love the ending of this. Like, here's your cake, bitch, and there's a head in it. Like, I just think for me, I was just like, I was hoping that all of them would die, and then he would come out sitting down with his cake, being like, and then it's like having your cake and eating it. You know what I mean?
But it was more based on the ones that had wronged him, though, because Belinda was the first one that actually killed it, and then the maid and his sister was the ones that like hid the secret as well. So it was kind of like the ones that were punished. I think, other than Ed Harris, who died in the most stupidest way as well, because there was
telekinetic.
Well, it's not that. He's just lying there looking at it. It's like, move.
Yeah, just fucking move.
I didn't get that. I often wonder sometimes with the writing of these things, how the fuck is a corpse telekinetic? Like, I can get my head around the fact that that's being brought back to life with Jim Beam. I totally can. But how in the fuck does it go and be like, has telekinetic powers?
Movie magic, Sammy. Movie magic.
Movie magic. That's it. Movie magic.
But
Honestly, that ends a conversation right there when you say movie magic.
Yeah, anything is possible in the world of movies.
But I have to admit, though, the first jump scare did actually make us jump today. I forgot about it.
One?
The Carrie one, where he comes out the grave initially, where just his hand pops out. Because it's not like a slow like burnout or like thing. She's kind of like going in a little bit of a. She's done a monologue and she's kicked off and she's spilt the alcohol and it's kind of like just like a somber moment. And then the hand pops out, but it's not just like a simple like Carrie hand grab and stuff. It's quite a violent smash through the soil, and that and it kind of threw us a little bit because, as I said, I haven't watched this movie for a good long time, so I forgot totally about it. And it was like it's nice that I can actually get caught out a little bit at times as well. Yeah, but
I wish I could be like that.
But the whole grave with Ed Harris and. Because I was literally shouting at the screen, "Move, bitch, get out the way!" type thing. Because he moves his hand and he grabs Belinda's corpse and for some reason pulls her on top of him.
That's kind of do anything.
Where he's just he's getting a bit frisky.
Yes, but and this is the first time as well you notice the colours. And like the way they use the colours in this as well, so it's almost keeping it
comic book-esque.
That's the thing, keeping it like the comic book feel. And I love the neon they use as well. It's kind of like almost like it's the movie's signature throughout, and the panels, like everything that they do, it's scaring you, but then it's taking you back to like the comic book. So it's almost like making you feel a little bit of comfort, a little bit that's not get too worried, but I love that it's not a happy ending and that it's kind of like you don't know who the good guy and the bad guy is because like say the old guy at the end, like at the start, was basically Babadooking it to the point where it was doing going to the point where it was just going beyond like that kind of relaxed style of things as well. But then moving on through the stories as well. Like, there's no real happy endings as well.
Yeah, no, and to be honest, he deserved it.
Yeah,
he definitely deserved it. I'm not saying that they didn't, because like revenge is great, but I still think overall she did good.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed this one more than what I thought. Remember. From the first time watching it, enjoying it.
Yes.
Still doesn't beat my top one, like.
No, but I quite like that. Like, as I said, starting off strong, then we move on to the weird and wonderful.
The lonesome death of, now am I saying this right? Is it Jordy Verrill? Gordy Verrill.
If it's Stephen King, it'll be Gory because he likes to put his like little references from his, because all these stories were based on King's short stories, I believe, as well.
Yeah, King wrote the lot and Romero directed it, but yeah, The Lonesome Death of Gordy Verrill, starring Stephen King himself.
But yes.
Who's amazing in this?
He really is.
Let's be honest. The acting's terrible. Like it's not good.
This is where I disagree, and like because I do this quite a lot, and I end up disagreeing. Like a lot of the time, people always say, the acting is awful, the performances are awful." But loads of times, I really, really enjoy those performances because they go into it and they know what they're trying to do. And the problem is that he gives off a performance that it's like he doesn't know what he's doing and he's shit. But in reality, like he's purposely doing that, and he's purposely giving those performances. So I absolutely like. I would be happy if he was the whole movie. Because I love him so much.
It felt very much like Little Shop of Horrors. Like,
it was slapsticky. It was slapstick comedy. His cartoonish facial expressions were hilarious, which totally fit the fact that look at the story itself. He touched a meteorite. Now he's turning green. How you can't portray that. You have to have some form of.
Why the fuck
funniness.
would you touch it though? Can I just ask that question? Why would you
Well,
touch
I'm
it?
not going to lie, I probably would touch it. Like,
that's the fun in it. Like, and also like like imagine if someone like Ed Harris was in one like this, like a segment like this, it would be so boring.
Yeah,
it'd be so serious.
Serious.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
So
I agree.
It just was up there with Dennis Hopper with Mario Brothers with the performance, like chewing the scenery and stuff. But,
and I love that performance
I love
because it fitted so perfectly. But this has such a sad element to it as well. For all you're
this is the
getting
sad one.
For all you're getting this like brilliant, I think, performance from Stephen King, who's not an actor. He's doing obviously the best he can, but it's just his facial expressions are so funny to me. But at the same time, it's like this man is dying in front of your eyes. Like he's transitioning into death, essentially.
Yeah, this guy's done nothing wrong at all,
No.
and then shoots himself in the face because he can't live with it.
No.
Yeah.
But
it's sad.
Transitioning. It's so sad.
It's horrific in the way they do it as well. I love the whole telling of the story of this one as well, because it's so bleak, as you said. And again, if they did it any other way than the comedy version, it wouldn't have worked as well. If they tried to do like a proper serious Martian or space invaders type thing, but the rubber face of, maybe it's because I just don't like Jim Carrey as well, so it gives us reminds of Jim Carrey's performance as well.
That's understandable.
I have to say, the line that broke me in this episode, I was no good after I actually had to rewind it just to see what you said. I'll be dipped in shit if that ain't a meteor. What I don't even understand the premise or why that line was in there, but I just was so glad it was, just because it was just the weirdest thing ever. But that's probably the best way I can describe this part of it as well, because it was just bonkers and weird. But kudos to the practical effects, because if they did that now, that would all be CGI. Like everything that they made would have been like on a green screen. Everything would have looked shiny and polished. But I haven't quite liked how dirty and like cheap it looked and grimy, and how realistic and, as you said, the continuity in this one as well. If they look at the TV channel where he touched it to turn it on, it starts getting green on. 5 minutes later, it's spread and they're going around the same spots. There's nothing missed. Like even like the bottle, the area on the chair, like everything he touched in this episode kind of like grows quicker and faster.
Yeah.
And they could have missed that quite easy, but everything was done to a degree that was, I say, special effects wise and just planning of movie making it's up there with some of the best that's been done. I would say I would give them that credit.
It really is. I mean, you've got to think of whose eyes are on this as well. You've not only got like George Romero's, who, you know, he knows his horror. Stephen King has wrote these words. He knows how he wants it to play out. But then you've got the talent of Tom Savini on top of it as well. And Tom and his detail should never, you know, he doesn't miss a fucking trick. He does, everything is so key to him, to the point where you could even put like him as part, because I feel like I know Tom now. I have delved into his life, into his movies. I don't think Tom would not allow himself to be part of the direction on this at all, on any of the stuff that includes any of his work, because, and I don't think George wouldn't, I think George would let him as well, just because of their friendship. But the detail that Tom gives off in this is unreal. And the fact that Stephen King, bless his heart, was completely allergic to the material that they were using.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that they had to keep dosing him on medication. But he still did it. It's not like he went, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm allergic to this." He was like, "No, give me the medication, and we'll just keep going."
But this was 1982 Stephen King, so he was off his fucking nut anyway.
Yeah, the likelihood, yes. The medication was probably mixed with other medication.
Yeah. His medication was cocaine and more cocaine.
They got some good stories, like I say, kept them up to the night. But yeah,
and then he made Maximum Overdrive.
It's still a good film. I'll give that.
Banging movie.
Film is amazing.
If you say to somebody, I want to watch a movie that is just made by cocaine, you watch Maximum Overdrive.
It makes no sense at all. But yeah,
it was Christmas Day. We were at my in-laws, and my father-in-law was like, "Right, you're going to watch Gremlins for the first time in your life," because I'd never seen it. And then
Blimey.
at the end, I says, right, you pick that movie. I trust your trainer. I trust your judgment. Pick the next one. Fucking Maximum Overdrive. I was buzzing my tits
Best
off.
Christmas ever.
So fucking good.
That Green
My
Goblin
father-in-law
still
has good-
chasing you down now.
My father-in-law has some good taste in movies.
But yeah, everything that was like, as you said, dispense disbelief, because the whole I'm sorry, if I saw green shit growing out my finger, I would be so quick to go to the hospital or the doctor just to see what's going on. And he's not going to go because he's worried they're going to chop his fingers off. I would want them to chop my fingers off
I
if that was
would do
happening.
it myself. Like, I'm not wanting to go to the doctors or like the hospital or anything. So the likelihood is I'm chopping my own fingers off. It's happening.
I love it when and it's just the way, like, the things he says, and like when he's like, oh, like he gets it on his fingers and he goes, meteor shit, and it's just little things he say like that. Like I genuinely love it when you get little things like this in horror, because it reminds you like how fun horror can be. It doesn't have to be dark all the time. And we had the one before it that had, like, it was a little bit funny, but it was a little bit more serious. And then you get one straight after it that, like you were saying, it's like a slapstick comedy with Stephen King proper hamming it up. But like you guys are saying, and I think, and I'll say this word a million times because it's literally all I talk about, but this is one of those movies that, to me, like on a personal level, or this part of this movie really aids to the iconography of why horror is what it is and why sort of we love it, especially growing up. I'll talk more about that later, because there's like a big personal connection with this movie that I have, and what I think, how important it is to horror. But this thing with like how it has this incredible lighting in this scene, well, this segment, like the when you start seeing where he's walked into the house and you see the footsteps of the grass that he's sort of leading into the house, and not only is that so cool and so clever, but it looks incredible in the way that it's shot. You know, because we very rarely get movies that are sort of shot like this now, where it shows everything. Now everything's all quick and close up. Nothing really shows you anything anymore, because everybody's trying to hide shit CGI. When back then we were trying to show everything that masters like Tom Savini did. So it's so cool when they were doing these things, and you get the blue lights, the red lights, the greens, and all of it works together. And then that, to me, is like what's imprinted into my brain in regards to every time I start thinking about horror. So it's not just about like the idea of the story. I would think about the things that you take from moments like this in horror.
I totally agree with you. Color is a big thing with me when it comes down to not just horror, but any kind of movie. I always look for the color, and the palette in this one, the dirty griminess of his home in the contrast to the green that is actually used is unreal. How it kind of like fits in is so perfectly done. And I often think, is that just a mistake, or is that like how it is meant, like how they envisioned it? Because it's, for me, it's, I don't know how to describe it. I have such a thing with color. Like when Paul changed the Monsters logo to the green, I was ecstatic. Like, that is such a beautiful green, but I can't express how, or translate it properly, why colour is so important to us. I don't get it.
Well, you might be one of those people that's colour sensitive, though. That's the thing that does lead into.
And sometimes it's like emotion and stuff like that. Like when, like when you make films like David Fincher, obviously, for example, everything is very desaturated. There's very little colour to a lot of his movies and stuff, because he's trying to give you a sense of what you're supposed to feel, and because the way that I look at like filmmaking is that every single aspect of making a film has to result in one thing, and that is the movie itself. So if I'm making a movie that's like a movie like that's quite a sad one, then you would try and use those desaturated tones like the blues and like the and bleach sort of color stuff. But then if you're making an action film, then you want all the colors and all that sort of stuff. And that's why I love like horror, because it really utilizes, like, because there's so many subgenres within horror, every filmmaker who does something different within this genre has to really utilize and understand the importance of color. So it's so funny how a little thing like color can really affect how you feel when you're watching movies and stuff like that. It's so interesting. That's why horror is the best, because everything about it's so fucking interesting.
No, definitely, and it's such an interesting take, because that could be a whole conversation by itself, just like say the different directors and like the different tours. We can just go on about Zack Snyder using weird colors on the Superman movie that didn't make no sense. But anyway, the thing, like there was two things that for this one didn't take us out of the story or out of the illusion, but kind of like not annoyed us, but it sounds strange. Like something as simple as when he threw water on the meteor and it split in half, and he was like, "Oh, it's broken." Who the fuck's gonna care if it's split in half if you take it in? Because it's two halves of meteor that's hit the ground. That kind of was like he needed to give his head a shake a little bit. But then,
well, that's it though, isn't it? Like he is such a simple person. That's the beauty of it all, and the sadness of it all is he's so simple. Like in the kindest way possible. He lives such a simple life. He has his own little routine, and then this giant thing lands on his doorstep, and in his head, oh my god, this is gonna like save the day. My debt's gonna be cleared, and all this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, it breaks.
And he only wanted $200 for it, but yeah.
That's what I was going to say. That's my favourite bit in it. Or like one of my favourites is where he's haggling in his head. That he's so, like you're saying, like so out of it in regards to like obviously away from society, and he's, you know, he has no money and stuff, that to him, like going like this is a big thing. So normally in like real life, people be like, I want $1 million for this sort of stuff. And he goes in and he's just like 200 and stuff like that. And it like little things like that, like it's really clever writing because it fits the character, but also it's funny.
Yeah, massively funny.
And I know we're talking about strange things happening in this story as well, like aliens invading, but one of the most batshit crazy things does happen in this as well. When his dead dad starts talking to him through the mirror and telling them not to go in the water. I was like, I know with like say you get dark passages in Dexter and stuff like that and things. I don't know if it's something that he's talked to his dad previously about, or it may be like say running the accounts. That could be like a backstory or something. It kind of fit, but it was like one of the most stranger things that happened in that episode.
The way that I looked at it is it's subconsciously he knows that he shouldn't go in there. And the only person who can kind of talk him down from it, it's not going to be him. It's going to be his dad. And that's why he sees it, and that's why you see it, and you get that. That's the only thing I can think of, because there ain't no way his dead dad's going to know that water is going to affect him. It's feeding off it. So I feel like he kind of knows deep down.
I just blame cocaine.
Yeah.
Always blame cocaine. Just say no. Did Grange Hill not teach us anything?
But I love the ending to this as well, because it was almost like foreshadowing what's happening as well, especially like with him making the choice, because I think like the sad thing in it as well, I know like killing himself is sad, but the whole premise of basically he doesn't know if it's going to work, if it's going to kill him, because he doesn't know what he's become or what he's turned into now. And then seeing where the fungus or the greenery's moving off to take over the world. So it's kind of like interesting to see what can stop this, like, because we don't even know if it has a weakness or what the things. And I it's like the Michael Myers thing as well all over again. It's the not knowing and the questioning and kind of like
that suits this so well. Not knowing, not having them answers, nothing's explained. It just happens. That's it. You deal with it. Like it's all down to your interpretation. But the fact that that's where he felt like he had to go is so sad.
And what's mental about that bit as well is, like, once again, it goes down to like how incredible Tom Savini is. But when you're like, you see that bit and he's on the floor and he puts the gun, but like, even though he's covered in stuff, you can still sort of make out the face and the mouth, like where he puts the gun in his mouth. And you're like, not only is that incredible, but it's so sad because like, he's not somebody that you don't like. Like, this isn't a dickhead character. You like him, he's fun, and it's great. And it's one of those situations where you're in like, don't die, but he does. And I like the ending to this one, because this is one of the ones I find one of the weaknesses of Creepshow in like the whole lot is the endings for me aren't very good. I don't really like the endings.
Well, it's a Stephen King story. What were you expecting?
Exactly. But this one here, like, it feels like it. At least it gives you something. Like,
you get closure.
Like Paul was saying. Yeah, it's just like it might not be a good closure, but it doesn't have to be. The idea is the fact that unfortunately he died, and this is now an unstoppable force for the foreseeable future until everybody else is dead.
It's just a start. It's a start, middle, and an end. You meet him, it happens, it ends, and it's so simple. Yet we have probably talked about this a lot more than we have even the first one, and there is so much more going on in that one. And this one was just one person with a lot of green shit all over him
and a lot of cocaine.
But that's the thing, though, because it was. Like, I'll be honest, this story, even though it's probably one of the shortest ones, it was my favourite of the ones as well, just because it's an interesting take on the alien invasion, like, trope. It's very bleak, it's very thing. They didn't over-egg it as well with the gore, because, like, see, when he blows his head off and stuff, all you see is, like, the shrubbery kind of blew off the top of his head. It could have been, like, a mess or nasty or... it was just so simple, but it was gross as well, like the little things. When he first touches the meteorite, you see them little like burn marks or bubbles, but they look so fucking horrible.
Yeah, they
look
like so good.
Yeah,
I don't do bubbles. I don't do stuff like that. Bubbly stuff. Nope.
But then they even
just
show
Tom Savini as well. Like, he's so good.
Yeah, then they show his green.
King of gross.
They show his green tongue as well. That was just fucking entertaining as fuck. Seeing a hairy green tongue, because you realise after, because again, continuity. He sees he burns his finger. He sees he's got green on his finger, and he realizes, shit, I licked my finger because it hurt. So then he's But it's just how funny it is when he walks in the bathroom hiding his mouth. It's like, who the fuck's he hiding it from?
He's just like, please don't be green, please don't be green.
But the thing is, I do when I eat. I still do that. If no one's in the room, I still put my hand over my mouth when I eat. It's such a weird thing.
Are you just worried in case you're going to get a green tongue there, Sammy? Is that what it is?
I am now.
Subconsciously, you're like, I'm going to get a green tongue.
Just don't lick anything you shouldn't be, Sammy. Well, that's all I'm saying.
No danger of that one.
That's
the next one is my favourite one.
Something to tide over.
Something to tide over. Leslie Nielsen and my... He's not my namesake because I'm not called Ted, but his character is who I am named after, Ted Danson.
Yes, and Ted Danson was a handsome man in this as well.
Wasn't he?
I mean, I'm not having that when you're against Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen is a hunk in this one.
Oh no! So Leslie Nielsen looks like my granddad. So
then you've got the coolest granddad ever.
Hey, tell you what though, he was scary in this one. Leslie Nielsen was fucking terrifying in this. He had a presence in this episode.
But funny is that I don't actually like Ted Danson in this one much. I actually think he isn't doing his job as an actor in this one, because I think he's very much relying on the fact that he's Ted Danson and he sort of strolls through it. He doesn't really like every aspect of it, like even when he's getting buried and stuff like that, like nothing feels like a threat. He never feels like he's at a threat in this movie, like with his performance. Whereas Leslie Nielsen, he's fantastic in this because, like, obviously before, like we always, especially, well, I know me, but I always think of Naked Gun, you know, like, and those sort of things where he's playing the straight man doing comedy. But before that, he was a straight actor. He was doing like, you know, dramatic roles and stuff. It was only sort of by chance that he ended up doing Naked Gun and Airplane, where they were like, we want somebody who can play this straight, and that's what he became. But it was so cool seeing him become this absolute psychopath that plays it really straight, and he doesn't have to have so much emotion because that's scarier. But I think the problem with Ted Danson, he shows so little emotion in this when he's going up against everything. Like I wanted to feel more trauma from Ted Danson, but it's Ted Danson and he's not going to bother doing that.
See, I got a lot from his eyes. I think Ted Danson does a lot with his eyes in this one because it might not show like the terror in things, but when he's in the sand, like the little things, like when he looks up to the camera, it's you can see there's just pure rage in them eyes. That's the thing. But I can understand what you mean.
I kind of get what you're saying as well. But I
sometimes
just feel,
people just live off their name, don't they?
Yeah.
And then they don't have to do too much.
But I just feel like when you're up against Leslie Nielsen and how that performance went, because I have never known him other than funny. Like, to be honest, I hate to admit this, I've never seen any of the Naked Guns. But I know him from Dracula Dead and Loving It because it's one of my mum's favourites.
Repossessed as well.
And Repossessed, yes, I love Repossessed. And I just know that's funny. I know him as funny. So when he's in this, nobody can stand up against him.
No,
it doesn't matter if you got. If it didn't matter if you got bloody Claude Rains himself come down from the heavens, he still couldn't drop anything on him. He was so fucking superb. Apparently a nightmare to work with. But
that doesn't surprise me.
In the best way, though, and this is like not a dickheadish way. He wasn't a diva or anything like that.
Okay.
Nothing like that. He's just true Leslie Nielsen. He constantly made them laugh just before Romero would shout action. He would set up a fart machine.
What a legend.
He was constantly doing things, and Romero just said it was a nightmare, but the best possible nightmare. Like, the greatest one you could ever have is working with that man, because you are dealing with such a serious tone that when it's finished, the mood needs to be lifted back up again.
Yeah.
He is right there. The only thing that gets me with this, I love this from start to finish. The makeup at the end. Oh my gosh,
so
that
good.
is some fucking detailed work in there. Is where's the plugs for the TV going?
Well,
he's in the middle of the he's in the middle of the beach, Paul.
He had a long extension lead.
It must have been fucking massive.
Well, did you not see the car he pulled up in? Like I say, it had the wire coming round.
All the reels, yeah.
It must have had something like, because I'm thinking you're right next to the tide. And also, did anyone else feel like Ted Danson could have quite easily gotten out of that?
No,
yeah, I mean that was the special effects.
see, I've got a story. See, because I felt the pain of what Ted Danson had gone through. Because as a child and living near the coast, living near a beach, I was the one who volunteered to be buried up to my neck.
Absolute idiot. And
they buried us up, and me trying to get out was one of the most terrifying things. Because as soon as you're in, it's the way that, because I've looked into it now, because literally I shit myself. I'm not joking. It was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done. Because when you're in the sand, your legs can't move, your hands can't move. You literally are like, it's like you're encased. What you're meant to do now, you're meant to just do not, because if you move fast, it gets harder and compacted.
All right, okay.
So you're supposed to move your fingers slowly first. Then you move your toes, so you kind of wiggle in it. Like,
I'm actually doing this as you're describing it.
So Leslie Nielsen telling Ted Danson to be calm and think about it is actually the way you're meant to do it to get out. So you're meant to, because when you're under the sand, because if you start moving, thrashing, and it's like tensing up.
Well, yeah, because it's when you like pat sand
and it gets compact. So it's basically you're meant to loosen it. So you're supposed to do small movements at first, and that moves into bigger movements, and then you can then kind of wiggle yourself out. But yeah, because like I literally I probably cried for an hour afterwards because it was one of the weirdest and scariest things. It's literally and then people are digging you out, and you just want to get the fuck out. But imagine as well, he's not straight up standing like head to toe; he's on his knees as well.
Oh my gosh!
Everything that he's in is just an uncomfortable position.
I'll take it back. You could never get out. It's just the way that it's like kind of loose around his shoulders. You think, wait, bird, just stand up. But I have never been put in that position. I hate the beach and the ocean, and no, absolutely not. It did take. I mean, me and Anth were watching it today, and I could not remember. Like, bearing in mind, we're up to the point where he's been buried in sand, and me and Anth are going, What did he do to deserve this again? Why is he here for? And I had to go back and watch because I could not remember for the life of us.
It was very quick. It was very quick mentioned that he was having an affair.
with his wife. kind of feel he's a bit justified a little bit. Like, not to the extent of what he did, but...
Anth, if you're watching, be very, very nervous. That's all I'm saying.
We've watched a lot of Women Who Kill. He knows my method.
But you know what was my favourite part of this episode, and it's really weird? The crab.
I hope it's the same bit. Oh, the crab.
The crab was fucking hilarious. It was like...
he's just
Snip, snip.
getting his 15 minutes of fame.
And then until he got hoofed across the beach.
Yeah, that poor crab.
But how angry the crab got as well, because it wasn't just there. Then it got his claws up and was like, went all crabby.
Yeah, he's doing a little dance.
Yeah.
This is how amazing Ted Danson's daughter is. She was on set the day he was in his whole ghoulie outfit, and he was like, "Oh shit, she can't." Like, he made a proper big fuss to everyone. She can't see us like this. This will torment her, did it? And she just walked past him and went, "Hi, Dad." Couldn't give a shit. That makeup though at the end was
So
I'm gonna
good.
say his was perfect.
Yeah.
I could still see he was there. Like you could still see him in the eyes. But hers, I had to keep like pausing and like looking at it, and like I don't quite get what's going on with the front of your face.
Do you
Just
not think
here.
it was where she positioned her head because she did that kind of thing where he was quite
Right.
straight up, so it probably didn't have the same. Well, probably
Right.
moved the makeup around a little bit, like for the head
It's
movement.
just- yeah, there's just this bit here, just right round her nose area and her eyes. I was like, there's something just not quite right.
But the one I absolutely loved as well, like the shot wise, was the one where Ted Danson's head's actually underwater. Because I would have loved to know. Like, I know it's probably done in a tank and stuff like that, but with him being buried and have the head underwater as well, that would have been quite scary. I wouldn't have been like, it would have been a lot of fears all hitting at once just to do that shot. But I thought that was done well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would.
there's a scene in this, like one of the bits is one of my favorite bits of the movie, but also like once again it comes back to like some of my favorite moments that you get in horror, not just in this, is where it's so dark and it lingers on it for ages, and that's the bit where because it becomes about how dark this character is. Like Leslie Nielsen is obviously playing it very tongue-in-cheek, so to speak. Like he's very very dark, but it's Leslie Nielsen and so on. But knowing, like, if you're going through his character in this, the scene where you've got the wife that's obviously, you know, that's cheated on him, and he's making Ted Danson watch her on the TV, and she's drowning, you know, and the water's constantly hitting her in the face. Like, I love moments like that in horror. Because it's so dark, and it really, like, with me, they're the moments that get me, because you're like, imagine if you were in that scenario. Like, imagine if you're stuck and you're having there, like, you're now forced to watch this person that apparently that you love, you know, that you have an affair with, you love this person, and you're watching them die right in front of you. And that's when, like, the darkness of what horror is that, like, seeps into it all. And that's my favorite moment of this. Is just it makes you remember that everything can be, like, really, really fucking horrible if it wants to be.
No, definitely. And someone's just said in the chat as well, like, Flicks and Friends, thanks for joining us. It's the line that Leslie Nielsen gives as well, where he's telling Ted Danson about his skit. This isn't me pressing play, this is me recording. So this is going live just further down the beach. And that's, again, I didn't get that as a kid. And it hit home more when I watched it now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, fuck, you're actually watching it die live and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's
exactly. And also, I think, like, they play on the fact that he's got tapes that he's done this sort of stuff before as well.
Yeah.
Which is also more sinister. So no matter how sort of, like, he plays it up and he's hamming it up a little bit, it's the fact that the underlying darkness, like where he's killing people and doing this stuff, like, that's still there, and it's still relevant to the story and the character. And then that's what makes my brain go, this is still fucked up.
Yeah, it's the blasé attitude of him. Like, this is second nature. This is,
like,
you
the
know,
Patrick Bateman side of him.
This is Wednesday tea time. You know, this is nothing to me. I love that attitude about him. What I also loved was the necklace he was wearing. If anyone can find me that necklace, I would very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolute hunk, man, he is.
Just to ask the question as well, because I know we touched on the last thing. how do you just feel about the not explaining why they came back? I thought I quite like that as well. They didn't go in to say
I didn't care.
didn't need to like say, oh, they came back because of such and such, or because of this thing happened type thing. They came back because they wanted zombies. And it was George A. Romero doing it, so it was like, I want zombies in this. But I quite like that, like as you said, the makeup and how they brought the old school like kind of Hammer horror back, where the fog came lifting over, then one of the security tapes goes out.
That was so good. That the security tape side of it all, where you're like, where are they? Like, I'm sorry, but the technology in the 80s was just cool as fuck. Like, but yeah, where are they? When like you're following all these cameras around, and then you see them, but you don't see them. You just see them at the side walking along, and then the fog's kind of like following them. I couldn't give two monkeys on how they came back. I just thought it was brilliant that they did.
Yeah.
The entrance was superb. Leslie Nielsen's scream was just loved it. I think this is my favorite out of all of them, and it's probably just down to Leslie Nielsen's performance. You're making a funny man, and he is a funny man, into a sadistic serial killer, because let's be honest, he's done this. We all know he's done this before. And for me to be like terrified, like that, he scares me, not the act itself. Him, he's so unpredictable, and I don't like that about him.
I think everything.
I don't like it.
Don't like it.
No, I think everything in these movies as well is built to make you feel a bit uncomfortable as well. Like the music was used. I know we've not really talked about the score much, but even throughout, it's there to keep you on edge and keep you like almost like your teeth on fire, you know, and it like goes through you. It's almost like nails on a chalkboard type thing, because it's kind of keeping you there and keeping that type of feeling. But you kind of want Leslie Nielsen to get his comeuppance, and even at the end, he's kind of a little bit defiant, which I thought was quite good. When he's on the thing, and he said, "I can hold my breath for a very long, long time."
For a long time. And then then the water touches him, and he's like, "Oh,
get away from me!"
I definitely think that was probably a genuine like reaction to get hit with the water for the first time. Where it's kind of like, it's like, oh, I didn't expect it to be that cold or that salty.
George A. Romero being like, "That's for the fart machines."
Dick.
But I wonder, again, just going back to making these movies as well, because as I said, I've told you about my experience of being buried in the sand. I wonder if they actually did do that to a degree. Yeah,
I think they did.
Because
there was nothing to say that they didn't.
No, so the way that they do it is that they do it, but it's like it's bigger sort of holes that they do. So when you're there, like they're not really in that sand. The only thing that they're in the sand for is around their neck. That's why like it looks so like bouncy. So when you watch the movie, the sand and that is constantly bouncing up and down around Ted Danson's neck, and that's because they're not in it apart from basically that part of them.
I was going to say the insurance side of it. I don't think the insurance would let them get away with saying, "No, we're just going to bury Ted Danson," and that's the 80s. But it was still the 80s, but still, there was still health and safety be damned and all that stuff.
There is someone who gets an uncredited credit in this story is Richard Gere.
Right.
Can't tell you where he is.
All right.
But he's in it. Is there another guy? No,
maybe his name's on one of the tapes or something.
Right.
But yeah, he's an uncredited character in this.
Right.
I just read that from the from my very useful source, IMDb.
I'm
trying to think like at what points were there any other people in it? That's what I'm trying to think.
Was there a news guy on? Did he watch telly?
Possibly, yeah. So he might have been on the TV, maybe.
Might be his voice. Might have been his voice.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Richard Gere in Creepshow. He's uncredited as man on TV.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, interesting. Like, see, the cast was stacked, to be fair. Armageddon. But yes, so moving on to story 4 then. The story that broke me as a kid. I couldn't, as I said before, I could not get past this because Fluffy was, as a child, one of the most terrifying thing I have ever seen.
But one of the most beautiful bits of animatronic art that is being created. This is Tom Savini's first ever animatronic creature. He spent so much time on this to the point he got Rob Bottin. Anyone who listens to Monsters will know Rob Bottin is the guy who did The Thing and Total Recall. Can't remember the other one, but he had Rob Bottin come in to help him because he needed this to be perfect. And perfect you got.
It was, but watching it now, as I said, when I was a kid, I was terrified of Fluffy and like what was in the crate. Watching it now, I was terrified of Billy. I just wanted her to die. It was almost like what's that Drag Me to Hell moment where I was like, there was a flipped and was like, just kill the bitch.
Oh no,
let her die.
I mean, yeah, I was happy for that bitch to die. The minute she picked that kitten up, I was like, yep, just fucking go. But I really liked Billy. There was something about
so do I, because
so intriguing.
Adrian Barbeau is an absolute hottie. I mean, you can see why John Carpenter married her. Like
that waist, that waist.
But yeah, she's I love her in this. I think she's absolutely amazing.
Oh no, I didn't want her to die in a bad way. Just like she played a part. She annoyed us because she was meant to be
she
annoying.
annoyed you to the point where
I mean,
in the crate.
I suppose the only thing you can take from that is that like that's the purpose of her being there. She's very annoying, but then also I'm like, I love Adrian Barbeau. She's super hot. But funny thing is that I obviously I love Tom Savini and Rob Bottin and everything like that, but the older I get, the less I like Fluffy.
Really?
I love the idea of it, obviously, because that's what works. But there's something about it that's not scary. I feel like the way that it looks could have been done differently to make it more scary for me personally.
I can understand because it looks very much like Planet of the Apes style now. But as a kid, seeing them eyes, seeing the teeth, for the first time was just horrific. And this is coming from a guy that's watched like Nether Ending Story, stuff like that. But yeah, that kind of like element now, I can see where you're coming from. Seeing Fluffy,
I think it's just because
outside the crate, like what Tom Savini did, is mesmerizing. But seeing like the bits that you saw, kind of like it's one of them things. It's like quick edits. If they had more seeing what like Fluffy is, I think it would have had more of an impact now. But back in the 80s, I think it would have been, as you said, no one had ever seen anything like this, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find something because I read something so interesting about the actual crate itself. And it's going to annoy the shit out of us, but it's so interesting. So keep talking about fluffs.
Well, it's an interesting way that like to find it, where the janitor basically flips a coin and it goes under this stairs, where the crate has been there since 1845, I think it was, or it like.
Okay, so it has been. Yes, you're right. But the crate itself, it has it written on. Where is it? What does it say on the side of it? So the crate itself has oh gosh, keep talking. It's so I didn't write it down because I thought I'd remember it, but my head is like so bummed up with snot at the minute that I can't think properly. But the crate spans across not just this movie. Other movies.
It was Antarctica, was it? So has it got a Thing reference in off to any of that?
No, well, yes and no.
Right.
It's been in. Oh, fuck's sake! I wish I could find it now. It's so annoying. It's the wording on it.
Right.
Oh, keep talking about.
Was it Indiana Jones? Was it in the warehouse? But no,
just keep talking and I will get the actual fact itself. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I think the issue that I've got is because, and I think I said to you, Paul, when you came on and did the Blair Witch Project, but I think because I've never been scared by a movie in my life, that's my thing. So sometimes, like even as a kid, I was just in awe of everything that I was watching. So I think because I've never been scared by anything, that's where it probably has less of effect on me, and I look at more of the aesthetical side of how Fluffy looks. So so it's never scary, but I just love the idea of it all. That it sounds like I'm saying this bit shit. It's not. I love it.
No. I get it. Like, it's one of them things where it's very adult themed in a way, like because like what's going on outside of Fluffy and like personal lives. It's basically like that's what everyday arguments you like where you can see a relationship that's not working anymore, and it brings up that whole reel. Then it goes to the extreme where they've discovered this beast in the basement that's or the crawl space of this university that's not been found, even though the crate has got massive holes in. Well, not the crate, the bit where like under the stairs, you can look in and see. You would see that crate walking past a million times a day. No one's never going to discover that since 1848. I'm sorry. Either that or the janitor wasn't doing his job properly.
And how I feel so sorry for the janitor as well. The poor bastard.
Oh, so sad.
He fucking gets it.
That was such a slow death as well. It wasn't because again. I know, like, I'm not slating the movie, but doing everything that you shouldn't do in a horror film. You see some weird creature, let me put my hand in to touch it. Fuck no. That would be shutting down, closing down, putting the nails back in. But no, the janitor's like, oh, look, I'm going to stroke that hairy, monstrous, just teeth-looking thing. So, in essence, he deserved to die because he broke the cardinal rules of a horror movie. But it wasn't a quick death. It was quite slow, and you saw his pain as well, which was quite hard to do. And it's almost like the Saving Private Ryan moment where the two soldiers are fighting, and he stabs him with a knife, and it goes in slowly. And it's kind of like you see the like kind of almost like the life go out of his eyes type thing, and it's almost the similar type of approach. Well, I'm not saying Steven Spielberg took the approach away from Creepshow. You never know, might be an inspiration. But the whole slow death, it had more of an impact than you probably would have been if it had just been dragged in and ripped apart, and you saw body parts flying all over the place.
One of the cool things, sorry,
no, go on.
One of the cool things about this is that I because this one's got Hal Holbrook in it. Who's the obviously the guy that's married to Adrienne Barbeau, and then it made me realise that there's a connection because obviously Tom Atkins, Adrienne Barbeau, and Hal Holbrook, they're all in The Fog together. Right. So there's like a little horror connection there, and I'm pretty sure that the guy who's like the professor guy or whatever he is, the other guy in it, I'm sure he's the guy from Reanimator as well. Possibly, so there's I think his name's like David Gale, possibly. I think his name is. But there's like I like this one because it has this sort of connection through like horror itself and stuff, and proper like horror stars and stuff. And but this is another one where, and you can't. I think. Well, dependent on how you feel about Stephen King in this, like yourself, but this is another example of how incredible the performances are throughout every segment in this. Like, obviously, I love the Stephen King segment and stuff, but you can't fault the performances, really, of everyone. Maybe, as I said, Ted Danson, because I'd like to see a little bit more emotion from him. But in this one as well, everyone within every segment plays their character really, really well. And this one, like Adrienne Barbeau, she's supposed to be annoying. Well, yeah, she's fucking annoying.
She's really annoying.
And she's so annoying, you know. And then her husband, he's playing this, you know, like, oh, you know, I'm going to be like, you know, this devoted husband, so to speak, and be the yes man.
It was a wet blanket, yeah. So
but he was ridiculous.
But then finally he's had enough, and, you know, he plays that really well.
But what a way to go, though! Like there's having enough with your wife, then there's cleaning up all the blood and setting a trap to feed it to this beast that he at this moment he hasn't seen. He's just heard.
No, he doesn't know what that is. But the fact that he's like bashing her head off the side of the crate, and she's like, and then she looks up at him and goes, "Is that it? Is that it? How weak are you? I found what it says. Right." So the crate itself, not Fluffy in general, just the crate itself, it says, shipped to Horlicks University via Julia Carpenter, Arctic Expedition, June 19th, 1834. That crate, with that very writing on, has been in Friday the 13th.
Right.
The Thing.
Okay.
The Walking Dead.
Right.
Anything to do with Greg Nicotero, Tom Savini, George A. Romero, that crate
Rob Bottin.
is there.
So
Yeah,
is it
so
kind of
if
like
you
an
need-
Easter
you need
egg
to
type
look
thing?
out- Yeah, if you need to look out for the words "shipped to Horlicks University via Julia Carpenter," and that crate is the fluffy
Ah.
crate.
And then
So
it gets
yeah, it's
and then it gets
popping around
destroyed.
everywhere.
Yeah, and
It's
that's the last we ever saw it.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
Yes.
Sorry, I should have wrote that down because it really did interest us, but I genuinely thought I would remember it.
No, I'm glad you brought it up because that's quite an interesting thing as well. Because a lot of the movies in the 80s, especially like the horror things, that I said they used to lend each other stuff, or people used to go back and forth. As BP was saying as well, like a lot of the characters are from Halloween or Halloween 3 or Halloween or The Fog, and like moving through these movies, like they probably were all friends back in the day, saying like, what can we lend or what can we borrow from each other. But I quite like that little Easter egg. But everything to do with like Fluffy was just entertaining. The only note for me was basically the blood. There's no way the blood would stay that red for that long if it wasn't corn syrup that they used. But
so that's Tom Savini.
Yeah.
Tom Savini wants basically Tom Savini loves comic book blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same in like Dawn of the Dead as well, where he loves bright red blood because it shows up sort of more on film and so on like that. So, and it's something they learned on Dawn of the Dead as well, because it was George A. Romero as well. George A. Romero loves comic book blood sort of stuff. And when they were making Dawn of the Dead, Tom Savini was trying to make it like so realistic and so on like that, because that's what he's known for, making the most realistic real things that make you question whether it is or not. And George A. Romero was like, no, we need to make the blood like more red, more comic booky. And that's sort of like a common feature between like those two when they work together, that their blood would just be as bright as sort of possible. So it doesn't look so realistic. It's just the fact that it shows better on film.
It must be something that he carries on, because the burning that is tomorrow's episode of Monsters, the canoe massacre scene, the last shot that you get of that is the trickling red blood going down the arm, and it's bright red, like really like I guess that's like something that he kind of stays with. But Tom is known for realism, which he takes a great lot of pride in. Can I just ask, did Fluffy have any legs?
We didn't see it. But he moves around.
It's just he looked like he had a really top heavy half, like front, and then nothing, and he was just dragging himself along.
I just think
maybe they just only made the top half.
Yeah, I think it would have probably cost a fortune to actually build, like if they went full American Werewolf in London style with the full body and stuff. But I suppose he did have legs, because he runs about quite quickly outside of the crate, and his movements I don't think
shuffles. He shuffles a lot.
Or he's got crutches and we didn't see.
Or wheels. It might have been had wheels.
Wheels, wheel fingers or something.
Could have been an experiment. I
didn't see it at all. But the animatronics in this face is just it is like beautiful. Think of the animatronics from like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And when that was made to when this is made, it's like that is so much more advanced than what you're getting when Jim Henson then starts to make full body suits of animatronics.
And this is what I always
so good.
This is what I find interesting as well, because I think my issues with this sort of thing is and like I don't find it obviously scary, like fluffy scary. I like how it works within the movie, but the thing that I always in my brain it goes, right, well this was like what, 1982 or whatever it was. 1979 was Alien, and you had Xenomorphs, and you had like one of the scariest things ever put on screen,
Jean-Claude Van Damme in a suit. But still.
That's Predator. That's Predator.
Sorry.
But the Xenomorphs, obviously 1979 they created the Xenomorphs, and I felt like this was almost, as much as I love Fluffy and how it works with the movie, but I was just like, it felt like this was like a backward step to going from the Xenomorphs to Fluffy.
The thing is though, the see, I call them Xenomorphs.
Yeah,
we had this whole debate on
Xenomorph,
Xenomorph. You know, tomato.
I think if you look at the budget though, I think Alien's budget was probably a lot more than.
So it's 8 million this and 11 million Alien, so only 3 million more.
Not even thinking of the budget. Look at the actual style of what they're doing. The Xenomorphs are puppetries. It's puppets, and this is animatronic. This is it's a completely different. I mean, the Queen, if I remember rightly from my notes, and I ain't pulling them out, was full on puppetry. There was at least 25 to 30 people controlling that one creature, whereas this is one little ditty in an animatronic. You know, I don't know if you can. I don't feel like you can compare the two, but I do get what you mean. As in visually, you've got one to the other.
But that's all we can go off.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So when you're watching these movies, irrelevant of the behind the scenes or stuff like irrelevant when you're watching a movie.
It's how you feel at that time. Like watching it.
Exactly.
I get you.
So like
I do get what you mean. It's
So like when I was a kid, as I said, like I've never been scared by a movie. I want to be, but I want to find that thing that scares me, and Fluffy didn't. but like a Xenomorph, he's a scary idea and a scarier look and so on. So it was one of those things. But like you're saying, this Fluffy fits this style.
I think for for like a short story as well. If they made the full movie on Fluffy, that would have been quite an interesting or different take type thing. But I don't know if it would have even worked as well.
Because all you're doing is just feeding it.
Yeah.
So there's no substance to Fluffy, and essentially, is there? It's just Fluffy is a means to an end to get rid of someone. It's easy. Just feed the Fluffy.
It's just a garbage bin.
Yeah, because the story isn't basically Fluffy. It's basically what would men do to try and like
get rid of their wife.
Get rid of their wives, and like his reaction afterwards, how he changed from being like meek, walked upon, to being quite confident and almost telling that guy that this is how it's going to be. It was quite an interesting turn. It was almost like, as you said, a Patrick Bateman-esque character change. And then you get the stinger at the end of this one where like the crate is broken over because he's saying, no one could have brought them chains. Didn't need to break the chains, he broke the crate. That's how it was out now.
It's fucking wood. Like how and it doesn't look like new wood either.
It's 18th century wood. Now it's wet.
1800 wood, my God. What I got from that was not so much, I just feel like he wanted to reclaim his life back and take and have his best friend. I think his wife was just a piece of, furniture he just wanted to get rid of, and he just wanted a life of playing chess with his best friend. And what way can he do that? Now he has this whole thing over him. His wife's gone. He is like living his best fucking life with his best friend.
Yeah. That's
because he could have quite easily fed his best friend to Fluffy as well.
And if we're not going if we're going to go down that line as well, it is the 80s, and how they treat women in the 80s was not the best. So the message isn't always great there.
No, it's not. I know, but she wasn't coming across as the best person herself. She belittled him at every second that she got. I mean, don't get us wrong, I thought she was fucking fantastic, and like more power to her and everything, but yeah, she belittled him at every goddamn second that she had a chance to. Equality or not, she deserved what she got.
Yeah.
She's just a beautiful, beautiful woman.
That weird got me. It's when she's stairs with her glass of milk, and I'm like, oh my God, bitch, look at that waist. I hate you so much right
and again,
now.
Never trust the person that drinks a glass of milk. That's my rule in life.
It wasn't just milk though. She poured vodka in there. It was a White Russian.
She White Russianed that one.
White Russian, yeah.
And as always with the Nitty Up North podcast, we like to point out America has very lax drink driving laws apparently, because she was even still drinking the White Russian as she got out of the car. And
I love that bit. When she turns up at that next place, she's still got the drink, and that is so, like you said, like throughout this whole movie, there's great continuity. But what I love about that is the fact that once again fits her character, that she doesn't give a shit, and the fact that she's spent that whole time driving in the car and gets to this place she's going to and still has this drink in her hands is so funny. I love it.
there were certain elements, but yeah. So moving on to the last,
They're creeping up on you.
Yes, they come together.
She's just hissed at him.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to
It's a
stop.
cat fight.
oh.
Yeah, it's the oldest one against me youngest one. Right, go on. And she's just hissed at him.
Oh dear, naughty cats. But yeah,
Oh, I didn't hear come in and start shit, man.
She's just like, what's going on?
I want some now. But yeah,
She doesn't like the middle one. The youngest one that she can get away with. Now she can't get out. There we go. She's
right.
gone. Fuck's sake. So sorry.
that's fine. We're used to the cat fights. So, but to be fair though, that was probably more interesting than I found the last story, shall we say? Because if they just cut this at Fluffy, I think they would have ended it on a high.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. If you want to kind of explain it to us and like the nuance of it and why it was there, like I'll be happy to listen.
I don't mind it if it was in the story. I just don't know why it was the last one. Because you want to end on
the same.
Yeah, you want to end on a high or end on like if you ended with the Ted Danson and the Leslie Nielsen one, that would have been a good way to end this, or even end with Fluffy, because Fluffy's the big one. Yeah,
that's the way I would have done it. I would have, because I sort of thought that it was. See, if we're going as an order, my order would have been segment 5. So they're creeping up on you. I would have put that first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would have actually put Father's Day. And then I would have gone through from Something to Tide You Over, and then the crate, because I would have, because this sort of takes the sting out of it, so to speak. Like we've come from the 3 middle ones.
Sorry, I don't mean to jump in there. I just saw something jump up. There was a little thumb going up on your camera. What happened?
Was there?
I had a little thumbprint going up like that.
Try it again, hang on.
See if it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing it. What the fuck is that? Does that mean there's a ghost?
It's magic. See if it works for me. No, it's not doing for me.
It's a fucking
That
ghost.
is so weird.
I just
I
can't
don't know what that is. But now I know. Does it do double thumbs? Hang on.
So.
Whoa! There we go.
CGI shit in here. I don't know what's going on.
Listen, I've put a lot of budget into this.
You're fucking magic.
I'm a magic man.
Sammy, do a thumbs up. See what happens. See if it... Oh,
No.
we're not
I'm
going
not David fucking Copperfield.
I'm not from Hogwarts or anything. I didn't get a letter.
No, fucking hell. Like, I'm fucking magic man over here. I've never done that in my life before. That was the screen. That wasn't me doing it in real life.
Right. I'm gonna have to look into that now because it's like, what the fuck?
I've got no fucking clue.
Yes,
but I like it.
Yes.
Is this Facebook just giving you like a fucking fuck you?
Yeah.
It's like, Paul, you get nothing.
Another fuck you from Facebook.
No YouTube and Zoom here, but yeah.
I've got to watch what I do with my thumbs up now. I could be talking about something really serious.
And go.
And you just go.
That's it.
Oh, that was. I'm glad I spotted that. I was like, should I let that go? I was like, no.
I have a screen on the other side of us because I was looking for something, because the title of this one is They're Creeping Up on You, and there's something to do with Evil Dead 2,
Right.
and I was trying to find it, and then you were like, I didn't see the initial thumbs up.
I feel like that bit in Talladega Nights now, where I have to be careful, like where I put my hand.
It's like, what do I do with my hands?
Just sort of like doing this. I don't really know what to do. Otherwise, there's going to be little hearts pop up.
Turrets up there and everything.
We're going to have to do some tests later as well and see what actually do. So after we finish filming this, go, little heart, see if it
But nose.
Well, yes. Sorry to interrupt there. You were telling us about the weird creeping up on you. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I have to keep my hands down here. I feel like the order is a little bit off in this, so they could have played around. So I feel like this is a weird one to end on. But then we get that from like anthologies anyway, especially now. Like, I mean, you can just take like the VHS, series and everything where they have. I mean, the VHS series is to a point now where it's like they might have like one good idea that can sell the movie, and then they're like, right, we'll work the rest around it.
That is so true.
And that's the thing with this is like, obviously this is like near the start of where they started creating anthologies. If we're not looking at Twilight Zone and stuff like that, and anything that came after it, like Tales from the Crypt and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it was just a difficult way of them looking at it, or maybe they were like, we're not really too sure, and these are the strongest ideas, and we work around it. But it's it's a bit of a shame that this one was the one that it goes out on.
The only thing,
I totally agree.
The only thing that I can see why it ended on is because of the practical effects at the end with all the bugs coming out of them is fucking amazingly well done. And it has the ick factor. But
couldn't watch it.
The story-wise, it is just nothing. I know they're going for the whole Howard Hughes thing, but that doesn't even play out well.
Nah, he's just a fucking massive cock.
Yeah.
Like, he's a horrible person.
I feel like this is the one that, apart from paying Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen their money to be in it, this is the one that it feels like they spent some of the budget on.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But then what it lacked in, like, they spent the budget on what it looks like and the aesthetics of it. I have to be careful what I do with my hands. But then they...
we should know what else you're going to conjure up.
I don't know. I'll disappear in a minute. But then also it's like, you know, you end up putting a bigger budget into it and forgetting about the important part, which is the idea, the concept, the story, which obviously happens every single fucking movie in horror at the moment. So, it's a weird one to end on.
Yeah,
it was, and I'm not a germaphobe.
No.
But I wash my hands, and I took it very seriously during COVID. There was one little tiny bit that I picked up on this for, and this is just tiny little detail. When he washes his hands, and then he gets the tissue to press the buttons, he then drops the tissue down into a dispenser and presses a button.
Right.
And then puts his gloves on.
Yeah.
And then puts his gloves on, and I'm like, dude, if you're a proper germaphobe, you'd have washed that finger. Sorry.
Although
that was a cool little machine, though. I like the fact that it's just like, I want my tissues to go in this little suction thingy.
Yeah, get them away from us. Like, more germs. And I couldn't watch the end bit with the maggots. I learned last year that I don't do too well with they don't scare us by any, not maggots, cockroaches. They don't scare us by any stretch of the imagination. Like, spiders and that don't scare us, but what does get me, and it freaks me out and it makes my skin crawl and itch, is mass amount of them. I
think for that type of story and the way they wanted to go, they would have had to make the main character a little bit likable,
and he wasn't,
because there was no empathy. There was no, like, when it happened, you kind of just went, oh, it happened. It's over.
Oh, well.
Because the only thing I did, I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, most models or practical effects now, where they do a dead body or a fake body, doesn't look as realistic as that did in this project. Because, like, you get the first little blip where you see one bug coming up and you think, oh, that was probably, like, as you said, just some latex skin and stuff. But when they go the full body, where it's a body double, and you see everything kind of popping out of his chest, and that as body horror is one of up there with some of the best makeups or like stuff that was done. But you just didn't care. And I think the story and everyone in this type thing, even as you said, the Stephen King character, even though, like, for me, I didn't like the performance, but I still liked him. I still cared about him, what happened to him. Like, the fluffy one, she was annoying, but she was annoying in a way where you were happy that she got a comeuppance, but you cared about the characters. Like, even, like, as you said, Dead Ted Danson, you kind of got
Dead Danson.
Or just call him Becca, his best performance. Sorry, like, it kind of were intriguing. You were invested, and this was one where I thought it might have been down to just me personally, with us not seeing that for such a long time, and where I thought the ending was fluffy because I couldn't get past it. And then it's just like, I don't know, it's like, oh, it's a damn squid.
Maybe you did it better. Maybe you did the right thing by just ending it a fluffy and not ever watching that one. Because, to be honest, it's not scary. It's not even a half decent story. It's not even a likable person.
There's no redemption arc in there. There's no like, and he's essentially like an Ebenezer Scrooge that never does any good in the end. He's just a dick. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I like, once again, because the way I look at things is, like, as I said, like with the filmmaker and the acting side of it. So the acting side of it, when I'm watching it, I really actually like his performance because he's doing what his job. He's doing what he's supposed to. Like, you're supposed to think he's a dick, so he is a dick.
Yeah.
So that's that. My brain that's the way that my brain functions when I watch movies and stuff like that. So I appreciate what he does, but as a segment in this, it's not the way, like, because this is so fun. You don't want it to be that fun to be taken away by having this be your last segment. And like you said, Sammy, as well, like, they should have just ended it maybe after the crate with Fluffy, because in Creepshow 2, there's like 3 segments. So it's not really, it doesn't really matter about how many there is. It's just how long they go on for.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
they could have got rid of this.
You could have dragged out one of them just to make you worried about runtime. But the interesting fact I wanted to point out for this one, if it does hold one interesting fact, the music playing on the jukebox is the same instrumental music that plays at the end credits at Evil Dead.
All right, interesting. But
so isn't it fascinating that all these little tidbits are all in like different movies, and they all, even till today, like The Walking Dead, the crate is still being thrown about there over 40 years later.
Well, I think Creepshow as a whole, like even like the newer ones, are like a huge homage to a lot of the old movies. Like the Bob Ross Evil Dead parody is one of the funniest and best things I have ever seen.
It's really good.
I've not seen anything other than this.
I would say to people, like, if you love Creepshow, there's 4 seasons on Shudder of this. And it's really good. It's really fun, and it's very tongue in cheek. And you've got some that are serious, some that aren't so serious, but it really keeps the essence of what Creepshow is. So if people out there, like, they love Creepshow and they haven't ventured into the series, it's very low budget, but it's got exactly what you want from it. And, you know, when you get 4 seasons extra of like this, it's like when you get Ash versus Evil Dead and we got another 3 seasons of Bruce Campbell being Ash. That's always a good thing.
But this format as well lends it so well to the the TV show format, because they break it down. There's in one episode there's 2 different stories, so it's like 1 half and 2 half, and again it just works perfectly, and it doesn't need a huge budget. This is where horror or these type of stories do as well. They don't need a big budget to make things well or do it interestingly. But so this basically is a non-starter for me. The creeping up on us, it kind of wasted. But at least we do get the closing prologue where you get Tom Aikens again, still being a dick, but this time he gets his comeuppance to his son's got the voodoo doll.
And it's so
I love that bit.
satisfying. It's the guys finding the comic book. Obviously, the bin men, one of them being Tom Savini. Why does he shout comic book? Why does he comic book? Why does he shout it? I don't know.
He's got Tourette's.
He must do. But they see the advert for voodoo doll, and it's already gone. It's gone, my friends, because little Joe Hill is up there with his little voodoo doll, and he's
stabbing the absolute shit out of it.
But he goes for the neck.
Oh yeah, straight for the neck.
Genius.
I would go for the crotch myself, but that's just me.
See, that's where boys thoughts are gonna go to. But the fact that he went for the neck, like, this is your breathing point. This is, fucking get you.
Yes.
Love
Should
it.
have gone for the moustache, and then Tom Atkins would have been like, "Ah, fuck!
Oh no!"
Drawn a tap on
That's where it went.
But yes, so we'll get closure to the story, shall we say? And I'm glad we didn't end with such a damn squid on the last story. We got the closure, and it kind of brought you back into the Creepshow field, which made us a little bit happy. But yeah, I would have been happier with the 4 stories. But I know you mentioned something I was going to say before. You talked about runtime. This is a long movie for the 80s as well.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Not many 80s films go for the 2 hours mark as well. So
or 95 minutes or less journey in the 80s with movies and runtimes. So 2 hours is like, whoa there.
But I think
it didn't feel like 2 hours.
No, but I think the people involved had a lot of pull and got away and got their say with a lot of different things. Like, I don't think many other directors or writers like Stephen King, Giorgio Romero would have been able to do what they would have done for this movie. There would have been a story cut out, or cut it down to that runtime. I would
Yeah.
think, but I don't know how well it did at the time as well, because
I don't know in figures, but I do know it was George's one and only #1 hit.
right, interesting.
Yes, it did do well. It did pretty well.
The opening weekend,
I mean, it
it
warranted
was his,
getting a sequel.
yeah, but yeah, it's his only #1 hit. Is this, and that was like opening weekend or something.
Right.
Like, don't get us wrong, Dawn of the Dead and
I was gonna say,
Dead are, you know, they're the greatest movies of all time. But in terms of monetary, this is the one that kind of like
made it. But you can understand as well. It probably was had the feel, and it's.
Well, you got to think about the stars as well that are in it. So like Leslie Nielsen, Ted Danson at the time as well. Like that's a draw as well for people to go to the cinema and see them.
I would say anyone to watch this just for Leslie Nielsen's performance.
Absolutely.
It is one of the most creepiest and actually intimidating performances that you'll see Leslie Nielsen do since probably he'd done the mob movies back in the 50s.
See, I don't know anything else but Funny Guy. So I have never witnessed that side of him before. So when you first watch this and you're like, holy shit, like why is the guy from Repossessed being a dick?
He was
being so good at it.
I know. Why am I liking this?
In the type of like mob movies and stuff, he was always the muscle. That was the weird. Yeah. He was always the muscle.
Really?
Yeah. But yes.
He is a handsome devil, I'll give him that.
He's a sexy son of a bitch.
I know we touched on it as well, but I would highly like Sammy, if you haven't watched them, like they're on Shudder or you can find them in other places as well. They are some of the most entertaining TV shows as well. They're not long. They're not like where they do 12 or 14 episodes. They're like 8 or 6 episodes per season. They are worth a watch. Like, and you don't have to watch them in order. You can know as well. You can watch the Bob Ross one. The Bob Ross one is fucking amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
It'll just take me back to like my childhood. Like growing up, I split my time between my house and my grandparents' house just out of convenience for like school days and my parents working and that. And my grandmother always ended the night with Twilight Zone, Night Owls, Mike the Mouth Elliott, then Night Owls. So it's like my love of horror and talking.
Yeah, it's good. And what I love is because I'm one of those people that I would have been really pissed off if it wasn't good, you know. And the fact that obviously, like Greg Nicotero as well, he's the guy, the showrunner on that as well. So with him being a big part of horror and a lot of Creepshow and stuff like that, then you know he loves it. It feels like he's not somebody that wanted to do it wrong. But if it had turned out and it would have been like one season and it's not very good, I would have been really pissed off. But I've seen every episode from all 4 seasons, and it's very good.
I think Greg would have been pissed off too. Greg is a student of Romero, of Savini. He's part of that. Like for all you don't, like he was apprenticing on Dawn of the Dead or something like that. He was like Tom's.
Yeah, and he was also part of K&B Studios, which was the people that did the special effects for The Evil Dead. And he's part of that whole crew. So I think if it was shit, I don't think Greg would have put it out. No. I genuinely don't believe that, but it totally makes sense that I'm sitting here going, well, The Walking Dead has this. Of course it does. It's Greg Nicotero. It's going to be like, of course it's going to be there. Yeah.
I forget he has something to do with that.
It's just this pull-in for horror just being sort of everywhere. Like this person does this, so I've got to have it in this.
But isn't that lovely though that connection is there? Like horror is
the camaraderie.
Yes, horror has it doesn't have an ego.
No,
like they're all there to like kind of like reference and learn from, and it's what I love about the horror genre is the lack of. I think the best word, lack of ego.
No, it's the horror community as well, because everyone's quite inviting, and you would think it would be one of the most scariest places of like
groups of people.
And when it comes to like fandoms as well, because one of the big things that we are about is like taking that toxicity and like that hate and that nastiness out of fandom. Fair enough, you do get the things, you get this pockets, but as a whole, everyone's quite embracing and quite like eager to talk. I think this is probably the most talkative community. They don't talk at you. It's about the conversation. Like we've had points tonight where we've disagreed and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's been done in a friendly and like as a way where say something might not work for you, but we can understand why it and why it is. And I know you did say at the start you wanted to tell her like I don't know if you've already have. I missed it. You said you had a connection, like an emotional connection to this as well.
Yeah, sort of. It's just so I'll try and do this as quick as possible. So like I was saying at the start, like I've loved horror since, way too young. Like loads of us, we started watching horror movies when we were way too young. And then this is a type of movie that really started me on my journey of wanting to be a filmmaker and an actor and stuff. And this is what horror did. And I was truly, by the time I was 10, obsessed with horror. I was watching everything I could. And then obviously when DVDs came out and we could get them imported from America, and I was watching absolutely everything. And still to this day, one thing that is always, and it's something that I'm really grateful for, is growing up in the time that I did. And that when you have films like Creepshow, it doesn't matter how, like, for example, Creepshow, it's more about, like I've said before, the iconography of what this means to the history of horror than the quality of the movie itself. Like, do I think that it falls flat on some aspects? Absolutely. Do I think it could have been better in aspects? Absolutely. Do I think there are things that are really good about it? Yes. So I don't think this is like, when we're talking anthologies, do I think that this is the best one out there? Probably not.
No.
But this makes me feel like a kid again. Creepshow makes me feel like a kid again because it becomes like a nostalgia, and it really becomes part of the iconography of horror and that's what I mean by having like a personal connection, a personal sort of emotion with these sort of movies, because it makes me always go back. When I watch these types of movies, it always makes me go back to when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, looking in these Fangoria magazines and wanting to know how they did this and wanting to be a part of that, and watching these movies, and they become, as I said, the history of horror, where something might not be the best thing that's out there, but because of how it looks and the things that it's trying to pave and the history it creates after it, that's why something like Creepshow is still talked about to this day, because of the footprint it's left on the history of horror. Very much like what we've spoken about, Blair Witch Project. That's very much, and I say it in the episode, Marmite. You love it, you hate it. There's very little in the middle of the Blair Witch Project. But what's undeniable is the impact and the history of horror that created at that time and still goes on. And that's why a film like Creepshow is so important to horror, because it's a film that always makes us remember and look back at when we were kids when we watched this. And it also is something that helped us start our journeys through horror.
Yeah, I think with a lot of things, it's risk factors. And I'll say this till I'm blue in my face. In the 80s and probably early 90s, there was a lot more risks when it came to movies, where people were going to take things. Now, everyone's scared to make a movie where they might.
It's very safe.
It's safe. Where everyone's excited now because there's a new horror film came out, like say, Late Night with the Devil. That is very much a risk, very much different to what we've seen. And look at the buzz it's getting, just because a studio, and again, not a big studio like Shudder, is taking a gamble and saying, like, we're going to make a movie that's not the same, or not what anyone else is doing. And hopefully, again, it just gives license to filmmakers and people who make the decisions to say, we'll try something again. Because everyone's getting fatigued with a lot of the movies that we are getting, not just in horror, but in like all the different types of genre of movies that's coming out. And I think cinema needs it. It needs that reverb. It needs the likes of Scream. It needs the like of the Blair Witch to give a little bit of like an adrenaline shot to us, just to say there's still a market. There's still people that's thirsting for this type of content.
Totally agree. I wish this was like my starting point in horror. I started watching horror at 8 years old. It's an episode on Monsters that just recently aired. It's my first ever horror movie. I wish it wasn't. So I really wish that this was like a starting point, but I have to live with Dolly Dearest. for the
Yeah,
rest
it's
of
a
my
shame.
life.
I apologise for
If it
you
was
two.
honestly, I wish I kept that to myself. Was that story, because I could have gotten away with, well, my first horror movie was Witchboard. And that's that is fucking shit fantastic.
But that's what makes like horror so fucking amazing, because and I have a segment on my show called Your First Time, not on the video one, on the audio one, because it would be too difficult to do on the video. But the audio one, I have Your First Time, which is where basically people send me DMs where they're like, "This is my first horror movie memory."
Mm-hmm.
Now, I started that when I first started the show, and quite honestly, I actually do that for quite selfish reasons, because I actually myself want to know the history of this, what started people on their journey. But as I always say on the show, like, I want to know whether it's something that started you on your journey, or you watched it for the first time and was like, I don't want to watch another horror film. Yeah. And that's what's awesome about horror, is like you say like Dolly Dearest was, say, your first horror, but you didn't stop. Like, that wasn't you going, I don't want that anymore. No matter what the film was, it still drew you in to make you go, that gave me something that something else hasn't, and I want to explore this. And then now you're here.
Yeah. Well, it's me realizing a month down the line, nothing happened. all this fear, all the dolls were removed from my house. I have never owned a Barbie doll, a baby doll, all gone because of that one movie. And it took a month and a bit for us to go, nothing happened. I'm okay. My dolls have, things haven't come to life and getting me. Everything's all right. And then I was like,
wait till Jar Jar comes to get you. That's
Jar Jar ain't going in. Jar Jar ain't getting out that box of shit.
He's out of the box.
But it's like, what's the next thing? Yeah. Where can I go from here? And obviously, Witchboard was a huge one for me growing up. It was called Ouija over in the UK, and obviously, when years down the line, and I'm looking for this movie that like was such an impact on us, and I'm like, why can't I find this fucking movie called Ouija? Because it's not called Ouija in America; it's called Witchboard.
And they've got a reboot coming out this year.
What?
Yeah, a reboot of Witchboard.
Have you ever seen Witchboard, Paul?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, that was one of the ones that I remember nothing from, because that was in my period of DVDs, buying everything I can, watching it, and then forgetting it. Like, we had this thing. It was so funny when we were doing Chud last night, and such a funny name.
It makes us laugh every time.
But when we were doing Chud, I was like, when I was in my teens, I watched this, and then when I was doing about 2 years ago, when I watched it, I thought I'd never seen it. So then I was just like, I've watched so many, like, I just forget. And then when I watched it, I was just like, oh no, I remember everything for it. But then when I went and did the prep for the episode, I was convinced I'd never seen it. Yeah. But I did. So that's the thing.
It's one so much horror. It rings a bell, but I can't really recall it.
When I found it again, it was like, I just transported back to that 9-10-year-old who was like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. I'll get wrong for this kind of thing. And it's so bad. It's got her. It's what's her face? She did the Van Halen dance on the white car. Big red hair. Oh, she's absolutely stunning. I got my first taste of it, like kind of gothy punk girl from that. And then I get introduced. And then shortly afterwards, I get introduced to Elvira, and my life just changes forever.
But that's the thing, though, when you can have the conversations, because like, I know we had the conversation it feels like many moons ago about what could be, or what is it, what people think is as a horror movie as well. Because to me, probably my first horror movie was Roald Dahl's The Witches. And people always say that's
don't even get me started.
People say that's not horror movie. Go back and watch it. It's got some of the scariest elements in any type of film.
When she takes her face off, that's just pure terror.
Yeah,
that's just me tapping my makeup off.
And the painting scene, like that premise, that idea of like being cursed into a painting and having your family watch you age in a painting, and there's nothing you can.
So depressing.
It's just, and that's a kids. It's meant to be a kids movie. I still think it's one of the scariest horror films that's out there. That's a PG.
So sad. Yeah, I don't like the film in general. I don't like Roald Dahl, so hot take. I'm not a big fan.
But once again, that's what's great about horror, is that it's all subjective. and one person's horror doesn't have to be somebody else's.
Exactly.
And sometimes we people get scared by the things that other people don't get scared by, but like you were saying, it's the conversation you create around it is what makes the horror community, is what makes the horror movies and what makes the horror business. Like for me, that's why I could have done, a podcast about movies, but horror is my thing, and that was what made me fall in love with movies and stuff. And I could talk about horror forever, and it's nice knowing that you can do that within this community all over the world, which is insane. Blows my mind.
Don't worry, I'll have another podcast coming out soon, just purely on the Ghoulies, just every day talking about the Ghoulies.
That's it.
Well, you talk about like what could be horror and what could be not. For years, I was absolutely convinced that Howard the Duck was a horror film.
It's scary.
I absolutely convinced myself that Howard the Duck was horror until I met my husband and his Marvel comic book collection came into the house we were living at, and there he is. He's a Marvel he's an actual Marvel character. I was like, shit. Genuinely thought it was horror.
There's a zombie version where Marvel versus the Evil Dead, where Howard the Duck turns into a zombie chewing on someone's brain.
Yes.
That is actually, I think I bought Nick at one time. But yes. So just to round up, I'm not going to do a rating for this movie, just simply because I think it's.
I don't think you can,
because it's a film of 4 great parts and one thing that
and one shit one.
One shit one. But as a whole, I would highly recommend it, just because it's very much of its time. It's very much as a gateway to different things. It's a gateway into Stephen King. It's a gateway into George A. Romero as well. If you like the characters,
so many.
So it's quite an eye opener as well. But yes, what I wanted to ask as well, BP, what have you got planned? What's coming up? What exciting things would you like our listeners or Chris to know? Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Blimey. Well, I don't know if it's exciting, but it's we've got, obviously, the latest podcast episode is all about Saw. That's out now. Once again, it's about like talking about the iconography of horror, so that's out now. The next one that comes up is about an absolute gem of a movie. That's about Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That's one, if people out there haven't seen it, you've got to see it. That is about as good as a horror comedy as you can get. That's amazing. And then
only thing I'll say, be careful when you advertise that episode, because we got a copyright strike for using images from Tucker and Dale for our episode.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only episode we've ever done that the promo artwork I did, I got a copyright strike for. So yeah.
So take a look at what he did and just take note of the images in there.
Yeah.
That's insane. Well, literally, I've just got a picture of Tucker and Dale with Tucker and Dale on it, so I'm probably going to just have to draw one.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yes.
Okay, well, maybe not then. But yeah, and then the YouTube, basically the podcast, the audio podcast, and the YouTube series is the main thing. The YouTube channel I'm really excited about at the moment, because we've got the Welcome to the Creep Zone series. The next one actually comes out tomorrow, all about The Shining. So the next episode we've got is all about The Shining. It comes out tomorrow. Funnily enough, with Brett Parker, which is my real name, but there's also a Brett Parker who podcasts in America. So it's both Brett Parkers on an episode all about The Shining.
Oh my god, it's so meta.
Yes. Yeah, it's insane. And then that's it. But I'm really excited about the YouTube stuff with the series that keeps going, the conversations I'm having on there, but also I'm trying to do more. I used to do a lot more, but I'm trying to do more reviews and trailer reactions and all that sort of stuff as well, because I find it fun. It's just the daily grind of promo and shit like that.
Trying to keep up with it as well, like you're trying to find the time. That's what I used to do on YouTube, was trailer reactions, and oh my gosh, I'd be like 2-3 weeks down the line and I'm like, I'm going to react to this one now. You've probably already seen the movie already.
It's tough. I mean, it's not easy doing this, and having the time to do it, and that's what makes it difficult, because we really enjoy doing it, but having the time and trying to do all that daily stuff is not the easy part of it. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm
the
excited for
grind is
whatever
real.
happens.
The grind is real, but yes, and I do believe Sammy's going to be appearing as well not in the distant future.
Yeah, so Sammy will be on the Welcome to the Creep Zone, which is the video podcast series, talking about The Omen. So that's going to be happening, and I'm excited about that.
Just be careful. Sammy's a diva. She's got to be lit in a certain way. She's got to have everything certain. I'm only joking. She's easy going.
Look at the state of my background. Like, come on, the only time I have ever asked for lighting to be changed was when I was so pink one day. My face was so pink, and I was like, "Oh, please, can you just dim it down a bit?"
No, you didn't tell us to dim it down. You made us make it black and white. So you went full Morticia on us, but yes.
It looked horrific, but macabre. I'm very much looking forward to that. It's a movie that I like. Saying to Paul yesterday, I watch it at least once every 2 months or something. But it's something I never talk about. I never get a chance to. Hey, fuck my kidneys.
What's up?
Sorry, you not hear it?
No.
Oh,
no, just a cat jumping around.
Yeah.
He knocked over all my South Park shit.
That's fine.
So he's getting me heart jumped a little bit.
It's fine.
Yeah, so it's a movie that I don't get a chance to talk about. I promise you here and now, these will not be here when we do ours.
They will.
Oh, that's fine.
They will.
That's fine. Well, look, my dog. It's surprising that my dog's not here because normally he's like another character on the show where you can hear him snoring every single time.
It's like my cats. And his as well. You always his come on. They're just better well behaved.
Yeah, they're not messing us tonight. So yes, hopefully, like I say, BP's enjoyed himself, and we'll have him on in the future. Hopefully, he invites us to do more things as well.
Collabs, man.
It's
absolutely.
The way. Also, tomorrow night we are trying a different time, not 7 o'clock. We are going at 8 o'clock. Monsters Up North. Sammy, I thought normally you could get the plug in. I thought
I was just going to wait till you finish there. Yeah, tomorrow night is Dan's first horror movie, which is The Burning. So instead of the premiere being at 7 o'clock, we're going to try and move it to 8 o'clock and see how that works out for people and see if it works, in the way that people get to see it. Because there's a lot of people who jump in who are regulars to the Monsters Up North chat. Who jump in halfway, so maybe this might just help them out. But yes, tomorrow night is The Burning. It's a better atmosphere than it was the week before. I'm just going to put it out there. A lot better atmosphere. My eyes are not permanently stitched to the back of my head from all the eye rolling. I love this episode. It's so good. So please check it out on Monday at 8 o'clock, new time, and the audio for this and all the other episodes of this week will be available on Tuesday.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. So potentially we might have a new Gigs Up North episode that comes out on Thursday. Also, the Trekking Boys will be back on Friday. I don't know if Goodwill will be back in the UK. You'll have to tune in to find out.
It's a big mystery at the moment.
And then Sunday's episode, Sammy is very excited because she is getting to talk about one of the shit fantastic movies that is Street Fighter. So
can't wait.
And if you do get people to like and subscribe, we'll try and get Sammy to go culturally appropriate and dress up like Chung-Li.
I don't fucking think so. I don't do cosplay. Yes, but please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Just all of the notification links, everything like that, are all down below for ourselves, for BP, for anything that we're associated with, everything that we do. It's all down there. You can find us on all of our socials, and yeah.
So thank you guys, and same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Yay, got the fireworks.
We got it.